And we are live. Hello, everyone. This is My Two Cents, and welcome back to my channel for another live stream. I will apologize in advance to everyone who was here for the last stream. I watched it afterwards, and as you all commented all throughout, the audio for that stream was just garbage. I do apologize, but I've got some new equipment set up here, so hopefully those issues should be resolved. Some of you were present. I just did a test stream beforehand, and I can only hope everything will turn out well. But for this week's show, we are discussing the topic of the red pill. Now, for those of you who did not see the last stream I did with Night Shift 10,000, I'll summarize quickly what we talked about. And basically, I pointed out that back when I started my channel, I focused primarily on free market economics, issues involving government and how government wrecks everything it touches. But over time, I began engaging in a lot more men's issues and what has come to be called red pill type content. And the reason for that is because I've come to believe that pretty much all the economic issues we're suffering today under the totalitarian governments that we are suffering really can't be resolved until underlying issues that involve intersex dynamics, particularly the issues we're having with the lack of traditional families and men's and women's dating relationships that used to work out one way and no longer do. And a lot of the issues of expanding government we have stem from the fact from those issues. And in fact, those issues have been orchestrated by totalitarian governments with the intent of taking away more and more freedom from individuals. But that's as a result, that's become largely what I talk about now. And I mentioned last stream that I've become frustrated with a lot of the criticism I'm seeing within against what's called the red pill, because those that are criticizing it either don't understand it or they are deliberately picking the most extreme, worst versions of it in order to try and smear everybody who accepts the red pill as adhering to that. And pretty much to explain, the red pill is pretty simple. It can be summed up in two statements. The red pill, at least when it comes to gender dynamics, dating, relationships, it can be summed up pretty simply. And the red pill is this: men are inherently polygamous, and given in a situation absent moral, legal, or societal restraints, men tend to pursue whatever strategy will allow them to have sex with the highest number of women. On the other hand, women are inherently hypergamous, and absent any moral, legal, or societal restraints, women will tend to pursue whatever strategy allows them to do two things. First, have sex with the highest status, best genetic specimen available, and have children thereby with the highest genetic specimen available. And then, secondarily, to secure commitment from the highest status man available to ensure quality, protection, and provisioning both for herself and for her offspring. And as Morpheus says in The Matrix, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. So the red pill is not a prescription for how men should behave. It is merely, this is how intersex dynamics work. Now, what you choose to do with that information is entirely up to you. Within the community that has come to be called the red pill, there are many other communities. You've got men going their own way, which I consider myself a part of. You have the pickup artists, or PUAs. You have the so-called black pill, or the self-identified incels, and many other communities that take this information and draw drastically different conclusions about it. But the red pill itself is merely that truth. This is how men and women tend to behave, and all men and women have this innate nature. Now, that doesn't mean all men and women always make the same decisions under the same set of circumstances, but this is how they tend to behave. Now, I found this particular podcast on a YouTube channel run by a woman named Jamie Hanshaw, and she brings on a dating coach named Adam Lane Smith. Here, I'll go ahead and add this up here. And they seek out to debunk red pill lies that are told to men. Now, I was absolutely floored when I watched this, and I felt compelled to respond to it. And a couple of other red pill content creators already have. Specifically, I became aware of this because it was covered on Undead Podcast. But I'd like to take a stab at it as well. And one thing I'd like every listener to consider is the reason I think the red pill is so important is because we are living in a post-feminist culture where feminism has been the primary engine through which government has sought to tear down the traditional family and make everyone more subservient to the state. As a result, if you are a man living in the West, the government does not care about you. Society at large does not care about you. and they will attempt to guilt manipulate you into doing things that are not in your best interest, but are in the best interest of women as a whole and women's preferred dating strategy, and are in the best interest of the government. Now, anytime someone tries to criticize the red pill, I would ask, if you're someone who's considering these ideas, I want you to ask this question: if you follow the advice or statements of the people criticizing the red pill to its logical conclusion, is it going to benefit men as individuals, or is it going to benefit women as a whole? So when listening to Jamie and Adam here, ask yourself the question: if you accept what Adam has to say or Jamie at face value, is what they're preaching here going to benefit men as individuals, or is it going to, by and large, benefit women, and men who may suffer simply don't care about? So without any further ado, let's get into this.
Hello and welcome to Out of This World. I'm your host, Jamie Hanshaw, and today I have a super extra special guest for you, Adam Lane Smith, who is a dating coach. And I know that's not usually the subject matter that we talk about on this channel, but I think you guys are really going to enjoy this because a lot of the genres are bleeding into each other. And I have been looking into this red pill stuff for quite a while, and a lot of it is very funny, a lot of it's very confusing, a lot of it's a lot of lies, and that is...
Okay, now remember, like I said, the red pill itself, just because you accept the red pill does not mean you are a pickup artist. It does not necessarily mean you're a MGTOW or a black pillar or an incel or any of those other groups. The red pill is simply the truth about men and women and how they tend to behave when it comes to their innate strategies for getting married, having children, dating, all those things. Now, another thing I'd like to point out, Mr. Lane Smith here is a dating coach. And I took a look, before I got started here, I took a look at his website. And like most other dating coaches out there, he's selling a course, an online course that you can buy for about $500. And he also is selling individual and couples consultations. One package, the first package that you find on his site being approximately $7,000. Now, I've said it before, and I stand by this. I firmly believe virtually 100% of so-called dating coaches are scams. Now, does that mean that there's nothing you can learn from dating coaches? No, not necessarily. But just ask yourself, if you're struggling with dating, do you really think it's worth $500 for a course, thousands of dollars for consultations, to learn some kind of magic bullet that's going to improve your dating life? Or do you think the information you need, by and large, you can probably find by doing a little bit of detailed research online at your local library? Heck, maybe purchase 3 different books for $10 to $15 each. I virtually guarantee any information you are going to get from Adam Lane Smith in that $500 course or his $7,000 consultation, 10-session consultation, you can get all that information for free online or by purchasing a few books. Do you really think he's got some kind of magic bullet? And also bear in mind, the average surgeon in the United States makes something like $150 to $200 an hour. Do you really think it's worth, or even thousands of dollars, to learn about dating? Again, that's only a decision. It can't technically say it's a scam. That's a decision only you as the consumer can make. Certainly, Mr. Lane Smith is free to charge whatever he thinks his time is worth. But you, the viewer, do you really think you can learn the secrets of dating for that much money? Or like most of these online gurus, whether they're wealth gurus or health gurus or dating gurus, do you think they're just spitting up information you can get for free online and selling it to you for way overpriced? Let's continue.
What attracted me to your tweet? I saw your tweet about red pill lies to men, and it was so poignant. And it's funny because red pill, back in my day, it used to mean something from the Matrix. You know, did you take the blue pill or the red pill? And the red pill is truth, and the blue pill is you remain in the Matrix and the lies. But then somehow it got co-opted to mean that the red pill was the truth about women, right? And
okay, co-opted. You haven't really revealed anything there. Everyone at this point knows the term red pill comes from the Matrix. And yes, it's that iconic scene where Neo is offered either the red pill or the blue pill by Morpheus. But again, remember, What Morpheus says at that point is, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. The red pill is not a prescription about how men should behave in response. It is, as she said, the truth about women and the truth about men to a degree. The fairy tale you've been sold about how women are sugar and spice and everything nice, and all a woman wants is a nice guy who's gonna, treat her well and buy her stuff, just do everything right, and you're guaranteed to have a successful dating relationship, a successful marriage. Women don't like bad boys. Disney fairy tale, yada yada. That's the blue pill. The red pill is, look, men and women have specific natures. These natures stem back hundreds of thousands of years to when we were living in caves and without modern technology. What is the best way to reproduce and ensure the survival of us as individuals and our species? That's what the red pill is. Well, let's keep going.
How all women are like that, meaning they're all hypergamous, they're all selfish, they're all gold diggers, they're incapable.
Okay, I don't want to pause too much, but I want to point out something. All women are like other women. All men are like other men. You have to be stupid to believe otherwise. What separates us is not our innate natures. What separates us is the decisions we make as individuals. Now, I'm not going to say every woman in every situation is always going to make the same decision, or any man in any situation is going to make the same decision. What I can say is all men, virtually all men, are attracted to a lot of different women. Men are attracted to certain physical features like having large breasts and long hair and youth, beauty, fertility, things like that. All men are like that. Now, does that mean that every man, the moment he sees a beautiful young woman, he just can't control himself but to jump on her? Of course not. Men are individuals that can make their own decisions, but will any healthy man who sees a young, beautiful woman desire to have sex with that woman? Yes. That is obvious to anyone who's lived in the world for 5 minutes. Just because men can make different decisions about what they're going to do with those desires does not mean that that is not something we can look at mankind as a whole and say men are like this. And women are definitely hypergamous. But like I said, I don't want to pause too much. Let's let them keep going.
Loyalty and love. And that is preposterous. So I really enjoyed your tweet. It means a lot coming from a man. I think when you're speaking to men as a woman, it's a lot different speaking to as a man. So I'm here and I invited you to be my backup today in speaking to men about the red pill community. And your tweet says, if the red pill community is so correct, why so miserable? Right? That's so true. You said, men are flooding into my coaching after years of unhappiness and now trying to overcome the red pill lies. Here are some harsh truths about why the red pill teachings don't work and lead so many men to misery. So,
okay, so men who accept the red pill are all miserable. Again, I mean, that's a statement on your part. Can you care to demonstrate it? I accept the red pill. I'm certainly not miserable. And I think many feminists are miserable. Does that mean feminism is false? Does that mean everyone who identifies as a feminist is currently miserable? No. Even if it is the case that there are large numbers of men who allegedly accept the red pill who are now miserable, that tells us absolutely nothing about whether or not the viewpoint is actually true. Now, if it were the case that 100% or 95% of men who accept this go on to become miserable, it might be something worth looking into. But I say when it comes to the stats, either put up or shut up. I accept the red pill. I'm not miserable. My life has, in fact, been a lot better since I came to accept the red pill. I know plenty of others who say the same. So let's see what you got.
The men are realizing that contempt and disdain are not very effective dating strategies. And
okay, contempt and disdain are not dating strategies. Again, accepting the red pill does not mean you have contempt for or disdain women. It means you accept that women have a particular nature and a particular innate reproduction strategy. That's not right or wrong, strictly speaking. It's just the way it is. Hating women would be like hating wolves for attacking deer, or hating a lion for hunting a zebra. It's not right or wrong. It's just the way it is. Now, does that mean any action taken by a woman or taken by a man for that matter is necessarily right? No. But just because individual actions taken might be right or wrong doesn't mean we can't deny that men and women tend to behave a certain way in pursuit of their innate reproductive strategies.
That is where you come in. Is that what you're finding now?
That's so true. Absolutely. You've nailed it. It does originally spring from the Matrix meme of the red and blue pill. So the red pill guys, they've been around for a long time, and they used to be called men's rights activists. They were called pickup artists. They were called all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff.
Okay, again, men's rights activists, pickup artists, those are various communities that accept the red pill. They're not the same thing as one another. So do not lump them all into the same. The red pill we're talking about is, again, nothing but the truth about male and female nature. What you choose to do with that information thereafter is up to you. But especially when people criticize the red pill, look out for people that are trying to take one particular community, in particular, pickup artists, black pillars, or incels, and trying to paint the rest of the community as, if you accept the red pill, you are part of this community and accept everything they believe and say you should do. That's true. Again, the red pill is merely the truth about men's and women's nature.
And I've been following them for about 12, maybe more years on the internet. And eventually they kind of all rolled into one, into this place called Red Pill over on Reddit. This was one of the big main hubs for the original community. And they said, we have taken the red pill, like on the Matrix. The blue pill is happy wife, happy life, serve your wife. Everything will be fine. Women should rule everything. Women better than men in their eyes. This is blue pill.
Okay, and yeah, I'd say that is a pretty added. Those are all elements of the bill. Now, as we listen, is he going to say that those are all things are all true? Not explicitly, but let's listen to what they say and women should do and how relationships work. Does Adam Lane Smith accept the premise? Happy life, happy wife, happy life. Men should serve women at all times. Women should rule everything. Does he accept that? Well, we'll see based on what he has to say.
Of just go along, get along, men are this, men are that. A lot of the lies that, frankly, our society does tell about men, a lot of unpleasant things our society does and says about men, the way we treat men in family courts. Yes, there are very valid points, but Red Pill came along and said, you are right to be scared of women and to be angry at women and to hate women.
None of those things are part of the red pill. Again, being scared of women. Well, I guess one topic that does come up within the red pill is you should be afraid of like false accusations made against you, because if a woman makes those against you, she will be in our society today, she will be unconditionally believed. If you marry the wrong woman and she chooses to divorce you, she can rake you over the coals in divorce court. You could lose half your assets, have a lifetime of alimony payments, lose custody of your children. These are all legitimate concerns. But again, being angry at women, hating women, that's not part of the red pill. You know, there may be men who accept the pill who do, but hating a woman for her innate nature is just like hating any other animal for its innate nature. It's not right or wrong. It's just the way it is. Now, do I think the government has recognized these truths, put laws into place that explicitly benefit women and hurt men so as to tear the family apart? Absolutely. But again, that's not to say you hate women or hate their innate natures.
And all women do this. And they started trying to pick evolutionary psychology and all kinds of other pieces and say, essentially, what they say is that every woman, yes, like you nailed it, is a gold digger. Every woman is going to betray you. If you share the slightest vulnerability, she will walk out of your house and cheat on you with your best friend on your front lawn 3 seconds after you share your feelings with her.
Okay, that is just dishonest, Mr. Lane Smith. I mean, I cannot think of any red pill content creator who has ever said something like that. What are we saying? Saying that, yes, women are inherently hypergamous. That means they have given the choice, absent moral, legal, or societal restraints, women tend to pursue relationships with a man that they consider to be the highest status man available. And although they do not seek out multiple partners in the way men do, they inherently will seek to transfer their loyalties from the male they are currently with to a higher status male if one becomes available. Now, that does not mean, again, that does not mean every woman is going with certainty to cheat on her man. What it does mean is that if a woman is with a particular man and another man comes along that she perceives for whatever reason to be higher value, she will feel the innate drive, though not necessarily act upon it, to transfer her loyalties to the other man. Again, to say that she will certainly do that, no one's saying that. What we are saying is that her innate nature will drive her to do that. And if you have a society structured such that laws and governmental policies reward women for doing that, of course they're going to go with their with their innate drives and do something like that. Now, and just this super extreme, if you are vulnerable to a woman at all, she's going to walk right out of the house and cheat on you with your best friend 3 minutes later. No one is saying that. What we are saying is that women are innately programmed to value strong men. If you show weakness or emotional vulnerability to your wife, to your girlfriend, you try to be her girlfriend and share your deepest emotional concerns, she will inherently see that as weakness. If you do this too much, if you do it at all, although she won't necessarily leave you and cheat on you right away, she will be less attracted to you when you do this. And if you do it too much, it increases the likelihood that she will seek to transfer her affection to another man that rightly or wrongly she perceives as stronger. Again, this is just ridiculous. No one is saying women are robots and will do this under any circumstance. What we are saying is that women tend to behave this way, and that even if they don't act upon these natural impulses exist, and you as a man need to be aware of this if you ever seek to have a successful relationship with a woman. And further, I'd like to get to this whole thing about women try to say, oh no, we're not like that. We like men who are open with us and share their emotional vulnerabilities. Let me just ask you this. Let's consider two of the most popular fictional pieces written for women about romantic relationships: 50 Shades of Grey, the book and the movie, and the Netflix series Sex Life. Are either of those were both received rave reviews from female sources, especially feminists. Women loved them. They said it was so real. It spoke to their heart about what a woman really wants and what relationships are like for a woman. Well, what are they about? About a young college student who meets a billionaire, a tall, handsome billionaire who has fetishes that basically involve being violent towards women. Christian Grey, it's been appropriately memed that if Christian Grey were not rich, 50 Shades of Grey would be an episode of Criminal Minds, but because he's wealthy, it's a romance novel. And then Sex Life, that was a series about a woman who's in her early 30s, married to a beta provider. She has a couple of kids, but she yearns for the days of her youth. And this guy named Brad, who was just this handsome bad boy who she just was all head over heels for. And despite having the perfect life, the perfect husband, the perfect children, she yearns for the days of her youth and her wild days with her bad boy. And she runs off and cheats on her husband with that guy. And women loved that stuff. That is what they are choosing to watch. That is what they say accurately captures their feelings about romance and relationships. Yet, so where are the Nobel Prize? That's the wrong term. Where are the Academy Award winning video movies and novels and TV shows that talk about a woman who finds a soft, sensitive guy who is able to share his deepest emotional concerns with her? They are non-existent, and that proves that that is not what women are looking for. It is, you have to be a fool to believe this crap.
And that's what they're teaching young men. They're teaching young men that the only answer to get love is that love will never exist because women are not capable of it.
Right.
So the best thing you can get is sex.
Right.
Okay, and again, I apologize. I'm already pausing too much. But no, the red pill does not teach women are incapable of love. What it does teach is that women are incapable of loving men the same way men love women. All love from a woman to a man is conditional, and any woman will, under the right set of circumstances, leave her man. It's sometimes been called Briffault's law, but basically, in the animal kingdom, the female, rather than the male, determines all the terms by which the man and the woman will associate with one another. In any circumstance where the female can derive no benefit from association with the male, no such association will take place. Do you think a woman will stay with, if a man is providing for a woman, working and providing protection and provision, and he stops doing that, do you think a woman will love him unconditionally and stay with him no matter what, even if he starts laying on the couch all day, not working and demanding that she take care of him and everything else? I mean, there might be some rare examples, but no. Women are not incapable of love, but they love differently than men do. That's all the red pill is saying.
or just extracting resources however you can. You know, if it's money, if it's attention, if it's status, whatever. Since they believe that there is no love exchange, then whatever a woman is useful for, you can use her for that.
Some men have taken their knowledge of female nature, in particular the pickup artist community, have decided that if they understand female nature correctly, they can use it to try and manipulate women to get laid all the time, have sex with as many women as they possibly can. You know, that's their that's what they've chosen to do with this information. But just because you accept the red pill doesn't mean you believe that's how you should behave or that's how all men should behave. That's one particular community that has decided to exploit this information to their benefit. No, it's the fact that it actually works, for at least for some men, is proof that the information is correct. If there would be no pickup artists if women did not respond to the kinds of tactics the pickup artists were using.
And so you said that your lie number one in your epic tweet was, all women are just waiting for a better man to come along and are incapable of loyalty. If you're taught that every potential romantic partner is a sociopath, no wonder you're miserable. It's a bald lie that many men get burned out once they believe this all too easily.
And again, that's not what the red pill teaches. We're not teaching that women are incapable of loyalty. What we're teaching, we're observing the truth that women are biologically hardwired to, whenever able, transfer their loyalties from their current man to a higher status man who are able to provide either good genes for children or better protection and provision. Any woman, if she is with a man and another man comes along that she perceives to be higher status, she will feel the desire to, though not necessarily act upon, she will feel the desire to hypergamously trade up. It's just like saying a married man. Okay, so suppose there's a happily married man who loves his wife and his children, and they go to the beach one day. As they're at the beach, an extremely stacked, gorgeous young woman in a bikini walks by that man, and his eyes follow her. You can say that because of his male nature, he notices that that woman is attractive, and he feels an innate desire to have sex with her. Does that mean he is going to right then and there break his marital vows, grab that girl, run off to the bathrooms, and fulfill that desire? No, he's not necessarily going to do that. But if you understand male nature, you understand he will feel the desire to do that. And if we had a society that actually rewarded him for doing something like that, why wouldn't he? Now, in the same way, women are not incapable of loyalty, but they have an innate nature. And when you structure a society that women are actually rewarded for following their innate nature, should you really be surprised when it happens more often than not?
So in your experience offline in the real world, do you find that women are horrible creatures that are just lurking in the shadows waiting to pounce on you and extract all of your life force? Is that true or not?
Oh man, Jamie, I mean, in your life, you're a woman. So let me ask you, you know the inside world of the women around you. Have you known women who have stayed with guys who just frankly did not deserve them?
Yes.
Have you known women that stayed with a man after he treated her badly and she chose to forgive him out of goodness?
Absolutely, yes.
Have you known women that didn't stay because they had no other reasons? They stayed because they really hoped that love could make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basic.
Okay, I would ask, in all those situations where he says women stayed with men who, quote unquote, didn't deserve them, those women had, I guarantee you, they had reasons for staying with the man. In particular, Briffault's Law. A woman will stay with a man if there is some benefit she can derive from being with them. I seriously doubt these were, men who are below average in height, overweight, unattractive, were not working or making money or otherwise providing some benefit to the woman, that the woman chose to stay with them no matter what. No, these women stayed with them because they felt they were deriving some kind of benefit from it. Now, were they correct in that assessment? Only she can make that decision. But I mean, the fact that he would phrase it like this, women stay with men who don't deserve them. Nobody inherently deserves anything. Women are the selectors of our species. It is women who have, generally speaking, have more suitors than men do. They pick among their various suitors the man they believe is most deserving of their love. If she chooses to stay with a man who treats her poorly, rightly or wrongly, she's communicated that she believes that's her best option.
Basic experience with any woman in our life should teach us that this is a lie. I know women who do the same. I wrote right above my head, exhausted wives, bewildered husbands. One of the biggest patterns I see in divorce is the woman stays for a long time hoping that the man is going to change, begging him for emotional intimacy, for change, for growth, for more love, for more connection, more compassion. And he refuses to believe that it's even possible. So he shuts her down at every opportunity for 10, 15, 20 years, and then doesn't give their children the emotional intimacy they need to grow much either. And she, broken heart through all those years, eventually gives up on him. And 15, 20 years in, I can't do it anymore. So she asks for a divorce. And he is blindsided that she is choosing a divorce over this and says, wait, I'm willing to try now. But she is so brokenhearted through all those decades of all that treatment that she just can't. She has nothing left. So then,
essentially, what he's saying here is that when women divorce men, by and large, it's the man's fault, because for 15 to 20 years, she tried to get him to change and he just wouldn't. She had no choice. She had to divorce. Now, again, this is basically, get back to what he said. He said the blue pill is happy wife, happy life. Men should serve their women. Women should rule everything. Is that not what he's saying here? If a woman divorces her husband, it almost always, according to his book, is because he's just such a horrible person. She's given him so many chances, and now she has no choice but to divorce. Well, first, I'd say that, again, she chose that man. Of all her available suitors, she believed this was her best option, so she chose to marry him. She presumably swore an oath to him on that wedding day to be together for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And she has now broken that vow. That is her choice. If a woman says, now, does that mean she didn't necessarily have reasons for doing it? Of course. But I wonder, throughout this entire show, is Adam Lane Smith ever once going to mention no-fault divorce? Is he going to mention alimony? Is he going to mention the fact that many women are straight up rewarded, both financially and emotionally, for leaving their husbands? In such an environment, can we really trust that the only possible reason a woman would leave is because she just had no other option? Things were so horrible. And further, even if that's the case, does it mean she's not responsible for her part in the situation, namely who she selected as a husband? No one forced her to do that.
and he goes online to talk about how he was totally blindsided by this horrible woman that he has served faithfully for so many years, and all she did was complain, and he did nothing.
Well, I'm willing to bet in a lot of these cases, the man did indeed faithfully provide. He went to work, worked long hours, dealt with horrible bosses and horrible coworkers, all spent time with doing things he didn't want to because he felt it was for the good of his wife and child. Does that mean he's necessarily the greatest person who ever lived? No, but it's, yeah.
Nothing wrong, and he was willing to fix everything, but she wasn't, and that's the origin of many, many, many red pill stories.
And if he did not want the marriage to end, but she nonetheless chose to pull the trigger through no-fault divorce, then she is at fault for the divorce, period. No one forces a woman to divorce, or a man for that matter, but women do initiate the vast majority of divorces, 70% or more, and that number is about 90% or more if the woman is college educated.
Right there that we read online. That's where that belief is coming from.
So in your relationship counseling, well, I have this theory. It's not really my theory, but it's something that I've noticed is that a woman will make her needs, wants known, and the ways that you are disappointing her, ways you're hurting her, the ways her needs aren't being met only for so long.
Mhm.
And then she stops trying to fight. And that is the phase of the relationship. Now you're in the yellow zone. Now you're in danger. If she is not angry at you anymore, if she's not expressing her needs, her wants, you're kind of like a dead man walking at this point.
Okay, does that basically amount to say, do what I want or else? I'm making my needs met. I'm making my needs known. You better do this or else I will leave you. I mean, that's effectively the woman saying she wants to be in charge of the relationship, which, if you understand the red pill, no woman is going to be happy leading the marriage. That is not how relationships are structured. Women have an innate desire to be with a strong man and strong lead. Strong men have the ability to tell their wives no. If you give your wife everything you want all the time, it will not likely lead to her respecting you. It will lead to her seeing as you as a lapdog, and she's not going to find that satisfying. But further, relationships are the kind of thing that require give and take. Both parties have to be willing to make sacrifices for one another. Now, it's not saying I don't think there are circumstances where women have legitimate needs they don't feel are being met, but does that justify breaking her promise, her vow to her husband to stay together till death do us part? Does it?
And she's just preparing, she's getting her ducks in a row. She's already left you. And for men, this can feel like, oh, the relationship is finally like the way I want it. She's not complaining. She doesn't care. She's very pleasant. She's not on emotional roller coaster because she's already detached from you.
And I'll bet what she's doing, if she's already left you, she's already detached. One thing that the red pill community is famous for saying is a woman will not leave one relationship until she's already started another, emotionally, if not physically. She's lining up plan B. I seriously doubt there are many women out there that actually pull the trigger for divorce until such time as they've identified someone that they think is a better option and is within their grasp. Now, whether or not they're correct in that assessment is a separate matter. But if you're saying this is how women go about it, they detach and then divorce later, you're only reinforcing that the red pill is correct about female behavior.
Dude, right? Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then,
Jamie, let me ask you as a woman, what, if any, is the road back from that? Let's say there's a woman who has children and she's that upset because he is not connected to her, but he's also not connected much to their children. And she's feeling that. She's got into that dead zone. Have you seen any way back from that? I have, but I'd like to kind of compare notes with you of what you've seen.
Yeah, as a woman, I think
And I would say when it comes to interactions with the children, again, women are the selectors of our species. They are the ones that pick from a variety of suitors to decide who they think is best suited to be a husband and a father. If you did not vet your potential partner for his capacity to be both a husband and a good father to your children, that is again on you. Doesn't mean you're responsible for the things your partner does or doesn't do. It doesn't mean that women lobbied, they were offended by the historic practice where a woman's father chose her husband. They wanted to pick their husbands themselves. Okay, great. You have that freedom. Now you have to live with the consequences when you pick a bad man.
As long as she's still sleeping in the bed next to you, you have a chance. It grows smaller every day by you not addressing the issues that need to be fixed. But if she's there, she is still waking up every day hoping that you see the light, hoping that you have your Scrooge moment where you wake up on Christmas morning and say, I'm going to be different from now on. And she gives you all that time. And by the time she has served you divorce papers, you've had 10 years to correct the problems that you knew were there.
Okay. And again, she's basically just reinforcing the idea that the only reason women divorce is because their husbands are horrible people. Women would not, basically, if you'd just done everything right, there's no way she would have divorced you. I mean, come on. Do we really believe that? Are women just innocent angels who never make bad decisions? Does it have nothing to do with the fact that we live in a society where they are actually rewarded for doing it, both financially for one, and they will inevitably find a community of other women that will rally around them, tell them they're so brave and wonderful for getting a divorce and lay all the blame on their husband. That's just ridiculous.
And
one thing I've noticed is that if children are involved, once children get involved, women usually push for more from the man, not for her own sake, but for children's sake. She usually, she could accept lower emotional intimacy, low bonding, low connectedness, low value, low cherishing. She can accept that sometimes for herself, but for her children, she can't. And there's such hormonal changes, oxytocin.
Again, women only leave for the good of their children. Why don't you look up the statistics of children raised without a father in their life and then tell me whether or not it's ever a good idea to rid your children of their father?
That she's never got before, all of that hope, that love she wants more for her kids. What I've noticed is that tends to burn women out really badly, is when you don't give your kids what she has been longing for and what she wants them to have. So the answer I have found usually is if she's gone silent on you the answer usually is not to try to fix it with her first. It's usually to try to fix it with the kids first,
Hmm.
to show her that you love the kids and to build yourself into a good father for the children. And when the kids start thriving, then you are fulfilling her real hopes, not for herself necessarily, but for the kids. That seems to be the only time she cracks that door open for her heart again, so that you can then
Mm.
go into the marriage. It's usually kids first.
Mhm.
Does
Something I
that
just want to add here. At the end of the day, the only person you can control is yourself. They keep pushing this idea. The only reason women divorce their husbands is because their husbands are horrible people. Basically, if you men, if you're listening, if you've been divorced, it was your fault because there's no way she ever would have divorced you unless you were a horrible person. Now, I would say this. I think in any situation, in any relationship, friendship, romantic relationship, wherever the case may be, if there's a problem, it behooves both partners to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, is there anything I could do to try and fix the problem? The reason for that is because the only person you control is you. You cannot control other people. And to walk into a marriage with the belief that if you just do everything right, your wife will never divorce you is to basically make her like a robot. So long as I follow the right, push the buttons the right way, she'll always respond the same way. She's not an individual capable of making her own decisions. And that is an incredibly disrespectful view of women, in my opinion. Also, are you really comfortable putting yourself in a situation like that, knowing that she can divorce you at any time, and no matter what, you will be blamed because society at large believes, rightly or wrongly, that men are always at fault for divorce? Again, I asked you to consider before we started this, if you adopt the viewpoint of Adam Lane Smith and Jamie Henderson here, is it going to benefit you as a man, or will it by and large benefit women as a whole, with you possibly being on the raw end of a bad deal? And I think here the answer is obvious. If society as a whole believes that women only divorce because men are horrible, it gives women a get out of marriage free card for any reason. They know that no matter what their personal reasons for divorcing, society will believe them when they say that their husbands are bad people. And their husbands, you as the husband, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, no matter what you do to try and please her, at the end of the day, she can divorce you. You can't stop it. That's because that's no fault divorce. I still haven't heard them talk about no fault divorce yet. And you will get the blame and you will be sustained by society. Tell me, is that a good deal for you? Or is that, shut up, you stupid beta, get back in your cubicle and pay your taxes? I think we all know the answer.
Does that connect with what you've experienced or what you've seen as a woman?
Yes, a woman will do anything for her children. I think even put herself in a position where she's not having her needs entirely
So
met.
a woman will take her children's father out of their lives, even knowing that children raised without a father in the home are statistically worse off in many different ways. Self-deletion, problems in school, education, further children. If she brings a stepfather into their life and stepbrothers and stepsisters, it greatly increases the chances that they will undergo serious crimes against them. But yeah, she'll always do what's best for her children.
If they're okay, then she's okay. And a lot of people from the red pill community like to throw out this statistic that women initiate 70% of divorce. They initiate 80% of divorce. They initiate 110% of
Okay,
divorce.
let's get specific here. The statistic, which no one I've heard is disputing, and I don't think she's disputing here, 70% of all divorces are initiated by women, and that of marriages where the woman is college educated, 90% of those divorces are initiated by women. That is a fact. And again, women are individuals responsible for their own choices. If they choose to divorce, they are responsible for their decision to divorce. A man that they chose, mind you, doesn't mean they're responsible for the behavior that their partner took, but they are responsible for their decision to divorce. A woman saying he forced me to divorce him because of all his bad behavior is fundamentally no different than a man who hits his wife and says she made me hit her because of her bad behavior. Other people don't make you do things, you choose to do them.
It's all the women initiating the divorces nowadays,
and for fun too. They just do it for fun.
Oh yeah, just because they're bored and they want a little bit of excitement. So I might as well break up my entire family for no reason because I'm bored.
Yeah. Well, but I would say women who divorce always have reasons for doing it. Are those reasons necessarily the reasons they give in public? Or it's just like being if a politician comes before his constituents and says, we're going to war for such and such reason, Do you necessarily believe that's the truth, or is he telling you what he thinks you want to hear? And in the same case, a woman will always have reasons that she gives publicly for why she divorced. The question I always ask is, would she still go through with it if she didn't, one, have the ability to do it unilaterally through law without having to prove that she is an aggrieved party in some sense? If she didn't know with pretty much certainty she was going to get full custody of the children, that she was going to be granted alimony payments for life, additional child support payments, that if she accused her husband of, doing bad things to her, that she would be unconditionally believed without any evidence, would she still go through with it if all those things weren't the case?
I think this is kind of ridiculous, and a statistic is not a truth.
Right.
So a statistic does not inform what the reasons were behind that. So just because 70 or however many percentage of women are initiating the divorce, it doesn't mean that they are the ones at fault.
That is garbage, Jamie. Again, if they chose to divorce, they are at fault for choosing to divorce. They made the choice. No one forced them to do it. Now, does it mean they are responsible for the things their partner did in the relationship? No. Your husband is responsible for the things he does. You are responsible for the things you do. If you choose to divorce, that is your choice. You must own it. If I were to say otherwise, I would be reducing women to just being robots who just have no choice in the matter. All they can do is react to their situation. And that is a incredibly disrespectful, condescending view of women, in my opinion.
Is that true?
Absolutely. So when I say 70% of women initiate divorce, yes. And as we just talked about, it's usually after those women have completely given up on that.
Yeah. Women initiate 70% of divorces, but it's always the man's fault. So should we assume the truth in the reverse? In the 30% of divorces where men divorce, is it always the woman's fault? I mean, imagine the public out. If I were to say, okay, look, 30% of divorces are initiated by men, but in 100% of those cases, it's the woman's fault. We all know that men never divorce their wives unless their wives are horrible people who are just terrible, and they gave them chance after chance over years, and they just wouldn't change. So they had no choice but to divorce. Of course not. If a man divorces his wife, he's called a dirtbag, abandoning your family. He's probably cheating on her with another woman, and he doesn't care about his children. He's just an all-around horrible person, abandoning his woman, breaking his vows. But when a woman does it, she only does it for righteous reasons. He must have been a horrible person. She must have done everything she possibly could to save the marriage, but she just couldn't. These are unjustified assumptions. You have to look at each individual circumstance. And further, again, women are individuals capable of making their own choices and therefore responsible for those choices. Whoever her husband was, she chose him out of a variety of suitors as the one she felt was best suited to be a husband and a father. And then she made the decision to end the marriage in violation of her marriage vows. Her decision, she has to own it.
Now, when the red pill guys come in and say they're doing it for fun, they just don't care. They'll do anything for their own.
Again, a lie. We aren't saying that. She has reasons. The question is, would she still go through with it? Were family courts not stacked heavily in her favor? Would she not be financially? If she were not financially and emotionally rewarded for doing it, would she still go through with it? That's what I'd like to see.
They don't give a crap about you at all. When I say later on, and I get so much flack for this, but when I say that the red pill paints every single woman as a sociopath or as someone with an extreme personality disorder, this is what I mean. They say women just initiate divorce for fun because they just don't care. They're just not willing to try. And
lies. Provide me a direct quote from an actual red pill content creator. Come on, Adam.
It's not true. Women will endure so much hardship and horror for their family and the people they love, as long as you love them.
And we talk a lot about feminism on the show on the side of I'm pretty much anti-feminist because I think
you're anti-feminist, sure. Yet you support the idea that women only divorce for righteous reasons and men are always at fault for divorces. But you're not a feminist.
think the roots of feminism are anti-family and anti-natalist.
Yeah, and we see how it's working out with no-fault divorce and other government policies absolutely destroying families. People are getting married less. Those that are getting married have a higher risk of divorce. I mean, come on.
And we've done hours and hours and hours of the occult roots and history of feminism going back hundreds of years. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. But the red pill guys like to blame feminism for every problem. And you mentioned the children. And so
I wouldn't blame feminism per se. Like most problems, I blame the government. I believe feminism is the tool that the government has used to expand its own power over us. But that's, that's my opinion, not necessarily something that every other red pill content creator would agree with explicitly.
one of these issues that they have is that men are treated unfairly in divorce court or when it comes to visiting or visitation with their children. But what I've seen is the men aren't invested when they're there anyways. So they don't want to help with the child rearing. They don't want to help with the babysitting. They don't want to change the diapers. They don't want to do anything.
Yeah, men are horrible fathers, so women divorce them. Again, I'd like to see that actually borne out. Can you prove that all women who divorced their husbands were horrible fathers? It may be the case in some cases.
When the kids are taken away, then they're suddenly, oh, my kids, I can't see them. But you didn't care about them before. And I think a lot of those men are just trying to get empathy.
Oh, so all men are lying. Basically, the men who complain that they were treated unfairly in divorce court, that they weren't given access to their children despite wanting it, they're just lying. They're just all horrible people because women only ever divorce because their husbands are horrible people and horrible fathers. They're all lying. Again, what is the agenda these two have? Have they talked at all about no-fault divorce? Have they talked at all about how family law is actually structured? Have they talked about the financial incentives when divorce, how when a woman is friends with other women who get divorces, the chances of them divorcing goes up? These are all things that the red pill content creators have been talking about for years, but you're not mentioning at all. You're saying this is you're debunking red pill lies, but all you're saying is that men are just generally horrible people, and that's why the divorce is so horrible. If men were just better people, there would be no divorce. Seriously?
By that.
Keep in mind, I think this will be for you. Red pill is just radical feminism for scared dudes.
Right.
That's what red pill is.
Yeah, it's the other side of the coin.
That's all it is.
I'll repeat myself again. The red pill is accepting the truth about male and female nature, and by extension, recognizing how government policies that have deliberately been put in place to exploit male and female nature to the benefit of women and the destruction of the family affect you as an individual. What you choose to do with that information is up to you.
10% on this side screaming at the 10% of this side, the 80% of us in the middle saying, what are you two smoking? That's red pill and radical
I've
feminism.
not heard anything so far debunking that men are innately polygamous and women are innately hypergamous. Again, that's all the red pill is.
So think of it this way. We're getting into attachment territory, which is, I think, is probably why you brought me on. A lot of these men who treat women this way have what's called avoidant attachment style. Now, avoidant attachment style comes from when you're a child and you learn that nobody's going to care about your needs. No one's going to meet your needs. Oftentimes the mom in your life didn't meet your needs. There's a lot of anger against those moms. It's the belief that there's something wrong with everybody else on this planet. So you have to learn to get your needs met by pushing people's buttons, by playing games. And red pill literally calls it game. You have to learn game to get what you want from women. You play games with other people and their feelings by giving good feelings or inflicting bad feelings to get the reactions you want from people to get your needs met. Now, there's two different types of avoidant. There's the nervous avoidant, what I call ethical avoidant, where it's guys not manipulating women. They're not trying to exploit women. They're not treating women like garbage. There's the more manipulative, almost malevolent version of avoidant, which is very much about exploiting other people, not caring how they feel so you can get your needs met, not quite to the level of sociopath, not quite to the level of antisocial personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder, but that's the avoidance side. Unfortunately.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot there. The first thing I'd like to say is, does any male living in the West in today's day and age honestly believe that society at large cares about your problems? That if you go into the public sphere, whether that be on the internet or at your university or at your workplace, and you try to talk to people about the emotional and physical problems you're going through, that you're going to receive overwhelming support and people coming to your side saying, we care about you as an individual and we want to help you? Absolutely not. If you're a woman, absolutely. But if you're a man, absolutely not. You've accurately described how society feels about individual men. And this is proven by the fact that you've already said that you believe that men are always at fault for divorce. Really? Have you talked to any of these men? Have you listened to their concerns? Have you reached out to help them and get through that situation and feel better? No, you just said you believe all men are responsible for divorces all the time because the only reason women divorce is because men are horrible people. By even everything you said so far proves you do not care about the struggles of individual men. So I'd say if red pill men believe that society by and large doesn't care about them, they are correct. Second, I'll say all relationships, all of them, are transactional in nature. No one is just platonic friends with, much less a romantic partner with someone, unless they derive some kind of benefit from it. Is that manipulation? I wouldn't say inherently, but this idea that men should, it's inherently wrong of men to be interested in relationships because they're looking to get something from a woman makes them inherently evil. I mean, what do you really think women don't manipulate men to get what they want? Come on.
There are a lot of men who have what we call anxious attachment style. And this is more women have this one than men, but a lot of men do. It's nice guy issues. I grew up trying to earn mom's approval because I don't believe I deserve to be loved. So no one will ever love me. They're hypersensitive, very insecure. And most women friend zone them because they don't seem to be men. They don't seem to be stable or predictable. And they'll be super nice when they're trying to get your love.
Because they're not leaders, they're not confident, and women are biologically programmed to seek out men that are biologically advantageous, high status, and able to provide protection and provision. If you are a stereotypical nice guy who capitulates to her every whim, is willing to do anything for her, and is not willing to lead her or tell her no, she will see you as weak and not worthy of her affections, which is, of course, how the red pill sees it.
Approval, but then they've done all these nice things for you and you don't respond with sex. So then they get pretty nasty and resentful, and then you back off. You're like, whoa, that was a trap. These guys never get their needs met because they can never be honest about what their needs are. So then they discover red pill sometimes after they get hurt by an avoidant woman, sometimes after they get hurt by a woman with personality disorder, sometimes just from being super lonely and having nobody ever really care about them. They discover the red pill. And the red pill doesn't say fix your attachment, get healthy, become masculine, be healthy, love people. The red pill says
yes. Virtually every red pill content creator encourages men to get physically fit, to improve their lot in life. And again, various communities, MGTOW, PUAs, black pills, incels, they will make different prescriptions. What I have always said, my viewpoint is start doing what's best for you because it's what's best for you, and stop caring about what women collectively want or need. Now, women just freak out. That's so selfish. You can't possibly think that way. And, look at my tweet history recently if you doubt that at all. But what he's saying here is absolutely not. The red pill does encourage men to become more masculine. Again, strictly speaking, it doesn't make prescriptions, but virtually every community out there will. So this is just a lie on his part.
You don't need to be anxious attached. You need to be avoidantly attached. You need to take control of other people. The red pill completely...
You don't need to take control of other people. You need to take control of yourself. And what you decide is, if I'm not benefiting from a relationship, I have no obligation to other people to take part in it. I'm not obligated to get married because society tells me it's what I'm supposed to do. I'm not obligated to date a single mother because, look at the awful situation she's in. You should be a real man, step up and care for her. No, if I don't benefit from a relationship, I have no reason to take part in it. Now, are there some men that just straight up say, all I'm interested in is sex and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, including lying and manipulating the women to get sex? Yes, there are some men who do that. There are also women who falsely lead men on, claiming that they're interested in them for a relationship just because they want to extract money and resources from them. And they do that as well. Does that mean those behaviors are right or wrong? No, but it's what people do those things. You as an individual are responsible for what you're going to do, and you are under no obligation to enter a relationship from which you derive no benefit.
disregards the possibility of secure attachment entirely
Mhm.
and says everybody in this world is out to hurt and exploit each other, you
Right.
should be the
Not
aggressor.
everyone is out to hurt you, but no one is looking out for your best interest but you. You are responsible for looking out for your own best interests. No one else is going to do it for you.
And that's what Red Pill teaches men to do.
It really is sort of a villain origin story, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
A man gets hurt, or he has a experience with a woman with a narcissistic personality disorder, and then he says, "Screw this! I'm going to become the villain now, and I'm just going to exploit people for all that I can do that."
Yeah, and I find it telling that people who accept the red pill are villains. That's how they want to portray you. Again, what have they done? What have they preached so far that is going to objectively benefit a man if he accepts? They've so far preached that women never divorce unless their husbands are horrible people. Men are responsible for, men are horrible fathers, and men who claim that they're being kept from their children are all lying. They were horrible fathers before. Women are always the innocent party, and they only ever divorce or leave their men when their men are people. I mean, the only thing, if I accept what they said as true, the only thing I can rationally conclude as a man is I should stay away from relationships, period. Because I can't control what somebody else does. I can only control me. And if I know that if they blame me for being a horrible person and divorce me, society is going to believe them regardless of what really happened. Why on earth would I want to get involved in a relationship like that?
So
really quick, every villain believes they're just an anti-hero. Every villain.
yes.
And that's what all the dudes. So when I post about Red Pill, I just released on Sunday a big anti-Red Pill video over on my YouTube channel. The comment sections are flooded with angry men making every kind of attack against me and just claiming I'm making up lies, that none of this is true. I've been studying
yes, you are lying, and we've shown that to be the case.
for 12 years, and most of these guys have been bitter for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it's a cult. It is a cult mentality. And they all believe they are anti-heroes. They don't
and
see it
believing that men are always at fault for women divorcing, that women are always the innocent party. That's not a cult mentality.
They're doing is hurting other people.
So this first lie, all women are incapable of loyalty. I think when they say these things, they're talking about anybody could be like that.
And no one is saying all women are incapable of loyalty. That is the lie. What we are saying is that because women are inherently hypergamous, when faced with a situation where they encounter a male they believe to be of higher status than their current man, they will feel a desire, though not necessarily act upon it, to leave their man for the higher status man if they believe it's possible. And when you structure society such a way that government policy seeks to remove any consequences she might suffer for doing that, of course she's going to do it more often. Again, I already used the example. If a married man sees a young, healthy, attractive woman that he's sexually attracted to, he will inherently feel the desire to have sex with her. It doesn't mean he's always going to do that inevitably, but that's how his base nature works. That men have a base nature, women have a base nature. We're not saying that women are incapable of loyalty.
Disloyal, a woman could be disloyal. This isn't just a woman's problem or a man's problem, but they want to put all of these sins on women. Mm-hmm. And I think this is just a disloyal person problem, not a woman's problem or a man's problem, right?
If you look at largely how Red Pill, even if they are not just hurting women, their benevolent stances are it's white man's burden, but repackaged men versus women. It's the European Victorian era colonialization of white men is the most smart, intelligent, greatest race on earth, and it is our job to colonize others and bring them the richness of what we have created and then protect them from themselves. And that's what Red Pill teaches about women.
And you just got done teaching that the only reason women do in fact initiate the vast majority of divorces, but they always do it because they're an innocent party being mistreated by their husband. And this is not a men versus women's issue. The position you're taking is that women are sugar and spice and everything nice, and they only ever leave their men because their men are horrible people. And this is not a man versus women's issue. You're taking the rational, middle of the road type position. Come on, Adam.
Women are incapable of loyalty. They're just sad little creatures. We need to take them in as our pets and manage them properly, and get sex from them as well.
Well, one thing I would say is treating women like pets. I do not advocate treating women like pets. I advocate treating women as individuals capable of making their own decisions and therefore responsible for the consequences of those decisions. See, what shows me that both these people are feminists is that they, again, refuse to hold women accountable for the choices they make. Woman chose to divorce her husband. Oh, it's not her fault. Her husband was a horrible person. Woman chooses bad man to marry. Oh, that's not her fault. It's her husband's fault for being a bad person. All the while completely ignoring that she's an individual capable of making her own decisions. Women lobbied for so long. They wanted the right to make their own decisions. Great. You got it. You know what else that means? It means you are responsible for the decisions you make, and whatever consequences follow are your problem, not mine.
We can get sex from them. That is our right to take our sex from them. But we must take care of them as little babies is what we do. And that's the red pill's benevolent attitude toward women. You don't even hear the worst ones.
Right. So you just mentioned the sexuality. So that the line number 2 that you posted, you said she had a sex life prior to you and is proud of it and wants to go wild. She's settling for monogamy with you. And so you said a deep misunderstanding about how the female sex drive works and what women actually want. They're just like men, so they love it, is a huge barrier for men. And you are spot on, because if there is
anyone who has studied this knows this is not women are not just like men, and they do not want it just as bad as men. Do the research. There have been studies on this. Men, by and large, men have much higher testosterone levels. Men are far more inclined to want more frequent sex with more frequent partners. To believe that women want sex as much as men, you'd have to be an idiot. Like, I don't even feel the need. If someone wants to try and prove me wrong, fine. Bring me the studies that prove women want sex just as much as men. There are plenty of studies that say the opposite. Anyone who's lived in the real world for 5 minutes knows that's not the case.
Thing these red pill people are good at is projecting their attitudes and values onto other people.
Oh yeah, you're going to accuse us of projecting. What have you been doing this entire time?
Disloyal people are going to accuse you of being disloyal. Promiscuous people are going to accuse you of being promiscuous, and they're going to attribute a lot of their motivations onto other people, especially women.
Keep in mind really quick that a lot of these guys have been watching pornography since they were 8 years old, 10 years old. So their view is that a woman's going to wander into a dark alley, get accosted by 5 dudes in the alley, and have the time of her life having sex with 5 guys in an alley, and that you are holding her back from that. So you have to control.
Okay. Men do watch pornography, and I think societally that's not good for society. But again, we'll go back to what are 2 of the most popular romantic fictional tales that have been told for women recently: 50 Shades of Grey and Sex Life. And what are those about? The first is about a young college girl who meets an older, taller, handsome, but man who is aroused by violence against women, and she is totally into that, and women everywhere just swooned over this book and over this movie. And then Sex Life, about early 30s mother who married by her own admission, is married to a good man who loves her and cares for her. She has children with this man, but she longs for the days with her hot ex, Brad, who just, took her to town and made her feel pleasure she's never known. And despite having everything she wants in life, she's just not happy, and she has to experience that again and get back to her wild, crazy lover. And women just go crazy over this. Again, is that to say all women like those programs? No. But the popularity of those of movies and books like that shows that women are, in fact, aroused by this kind of thing. Does it mean all women are going to behave like that in the real world? No. Women are individuals. They are capable of making their own decisions. But it is not, you cannot deny that they have an innate nature, and it will innately react to certain things, whether or not they actually take those actions. And further, when you have a society that has laws put in place to actually remove the natural consequences of those actions, they tend to do it more. Gee, who would have thought?
Her sexuality, or she's going to run out and try to find a dark alley to have sex with people in. That is their view. And so if she has had sex with anybody prior to him, dudes will have sex with like 200 women and say, okay, I will only marry a virgin who has never even held hands with someone. That's what they do.
Okay. And again, that is not the red pill. There are many in the pickup artist community who say you should have sex with as many women as you possibly can and then settle down and marry with a virgin. I don't think that's feasible. And if that's really what you think, I think you're generally an idiot. But again, that's not the red pill. The red pill is just the truth about male and female nature. What is true is that, and the Institute for Family Studies has done excellent research on this, is that the more sexual partners a woman has prior to marriage, the greater chance of divorce. And one of the best indicators, although it doesn't perfectly predict that there will be no divorce, one of the best indicators of divorce being a lower possibility is if the woman is a virgin. Now, I think the same is true. Is not necessarily true for the man. Now, granted, a man who has had more sexual partners is at greater risk to cheat on his future spouse, but also the Institute of Family Studies research has borne out in America today, only 5% of married couples are virgins on their wedding day. So that does prove that, one, a vast majority of women are not staying virgins until marriage, and two, the more sexual partners a woman has, the greater the chances the marriage will end in divorce. These are facts that men rationally look at and conclude it is better to marry a woman who is a virgin or at least has a much lower body count. And that's not irrational on their part.
It's okay, bro. Yeah, sure. And it just doesn't work that way. At first, that's not how women function.
Exactly.
Typically, unless they are hideously broken on the inside and
Right.
very sad. Not to judge them, but very broken.
Yeah.
Most women aren't looking for a dark alley with 5 men in it. That's not a happy time for them. It just I did extensive work with female trauma survivors. It's not what women are looking for, trust me. And men implant their own twisted pornographic desires onto it from years of
All right,
pornographic.
the desire in women manifests itself differently in different women. But again, what they arouses them are strong, confident men that either make them, whether they realize it or not, make them believe that they will give them healthy, strong children, or two, that giving them sex will lead to that man giving them protection and provision that will make their lives better. Those are the only two reasons women will have sex. Now, does it manifest itself differently in different women? Yes. Some women find certain alpha type behaviors very arousing. Others find it different type behaviors very arousing. But whatever the specific behavior the woman finds arousing, she finds it arousing because of her innate desire that it, in one way or another, demonstrates that this is a high quality man who will either give her strong children or that by giving him sex, she will attain protection and provision.
Addiction,
Mhm.
and then say that's how all women are. And frankly, it's wrong. It's stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah, because they're isolated with their computers and they don't interact with real people. And like you said, so they get their ideas about sexuality from porn and about women's wants and needs from that, which couldn't be farther from the
Now,
truth.
bear in mind, pornography, male pornography, by and large, that is marketed to men, plays upon male fantasies and male desires. If you watch pornography that is appealing to men and that men choose to consume, you will learn about what truly arouses men in general. If you read romance novels, which, as Solo Knight just pointed out in the comments section, is porn for women, make no mistake, you will learn about what arouses women. I think Jordan Peterson said, if you evaluate the plot line of every major romance novel, basically there are one of 5 archetypes. The male protagonist is either a billionaire, a surgeon, a pirate, a werewolf, or a vampire. Okay, where are the romance novels that portray soft, sensitive, emotionally available man who shares his deepest inner wants with a woman? They're not there. You have to be an idiot to say you can't understand what arouses women. If strong, confident, alpha type men did not arouse women, romance novels would not be as popular as they are. 50 Shades of Grey would not be as popular as they are. Sex Life would not be as popular as it is. Remember, current cultural phenomenon reflect underlying truths about human nature. The way that porn is the way it is, teaches you something about male arousal, and the way romance novels are the way they are teaches you something about female arousal.
Truth. And we are having an epidemic now of OF and just women turning to that, which is terrible. But for however many hours she's spent uploading her.
And what's interesting about OF is no one is forcing women to do OF. And what OF really shows is that given the choice and under no compulsion, women are more than willing to sell their sexuality for money. Now, does every woman do OF? No, but there are millions of content creators and the number is growing by the day. So the fact that there are literally millions of women doing this reveals that women do not only go into that profession because they're forced into it. Given the choice, they choose to partake in it.
Herself to the internet. How many hours have you been on the other side of that camera?
And that's the thing. People, red pill guys, want to pretend that every woman in America and every country has created an OnlyFans account and is selling porn, as if
every woman hasn't. That's correct, but there are millions who have, and the number is growing. So it's no longer a fringe phenomenon. There are enough women involved in this practice that it's now something you have to screen for in a potential dating partner.
The vast majority of every woman everywhere is selling pornography with glee and using it to finance this wild life where she lives in a mansion and has male sex slaves. And it's just not true. If you look at the numbers, it's just not true. That number of women, the population of women doing that is just not true. And at the same time, if you look at the research, people today are hooking up at lower rates than they have in decades. Sex itself is massively declining. Hookups is massively declining. Even marriage is declining. People are more isolated than ever. And not just
okay, so what should we conclude from this? Over time, fewer people are getting married, fewer people are having sex. Why do you think that is? What's the conclusion you're drawing? Well, I'd say since women are the selectors of our species, it shows that women, by and large, are choosing to marry less. They are choosing to hook up less. And in turn, more and more men are choosing not to pursue relationships entirely. So, I mean, there is give and take there, but the fact that this is going down goes to show that the benefits that people derive from relationships are no longer there anymore. And why do you think that is? Again, because of government policy that favors women. And further, women are choosing to hook up less. I agree with that. But of those that they are choosing to hook up with, who are they choosing to hook up with? Does any man in society have an equal chance of being able to hook up with a woman? Or are there particular kinds of men that women tend to put their efforts towards? And if they can't achieve commitment from that man, they just cry and say, where did all the good men go? I'm sure everybody's seen the meme of a woman. It's all over the internet. Basically, a woman's holding her door shut, and there are tons of men trying to break down the door, and you can see in their hands they're holding flowers and chocolates, and you have the little text bubble saying, "I want to be with you. You're so amazing and wonderful." And the woman's holding the door closed with her arm in her other arm over her face, and she says, "I'm so lonely." And that's really it. Women are getting more and more picky. They're only willing to pursue a certain caliber of man, and if they can't find that man, they conclude life is just hopeless, and they'd rather be depressed than get married and have a family with someone who is able to provide and willing, but doesn't meet a particular standard that they have.
Men, the number of women who are isolated and alone at home, hoping that a loving husband will knock on their door someday, and that's their only hope. They're just hoping he'll find her somewhere. Men can't even understand the other side of the dating pool for women right now.
Oh, please, Adam. Yes, women are desperately looking for husbands and say they can't find them. But is that because there are no men available? Or is it because they have a certain standard in their mind for a man that they believe, rightly or wrongly, that they deserve, and they refuse to compromise on those standards? I mean, the data has already been crunched. When it comes to dating apps, across the various ones, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and all these others, men swipe right 60% of the time or more. Women swipe right 4% of the time or less. And it differs from dating app to dating app. But any woman, an overly attractive woman, can get on a dating app right now and within 1 hour have more than 100 matches. And the experiments have been done on this. It absolutely, the most unattractive woman on a dating app has a better chance of getting more matches than even the most attractive man on that dating app. But women are choosing to be single because they have a certain standard in their mind and they are unwilling to accept a relationship with a man that they believe is beneath them, rightly or wrongly. And further, again, it's beginning to affect this. Men are also concluding if people like Adam Lane Smith and Jamie Henderson are going to blame no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try to please my woman, if she decides to leave, everyone is going to conclude that I'm a horrible person and I'm at fault. Honestly, what benefit is there for me? If I'm responsible for everything, including the consequences of bad decisions she makes, how can this possibly work out in my favor? This is, oh.
No, it's awful.
And now I'm hearing the buzzword called the Great Divorce, as in there is going to be a windfall of even more women initiating divorce because of for reasons, whatever. And this really hurts me because I'm a romantic. You know, I'm not a gold digger. I'm not a hypergamous person. I'm a romantic.
I'd love to know. She's a romantic, so I'm going to presume that means she enjoys romance novels or romantic comedies or things like that. How many romance novels has she ever read about average Joe beta male who, you know, didn't make a lot of money, wasn't the greatest looking guy in the world, but loved his woman like no man ever has, and the two of them lived happily ever after? Is that the kind of thing that gets her going?
Romantic person. I love love. I love relationships. I love men. I love women. I love babies.
I love men, but I also believe that men are always at fault in divorcing their husbands. And that anytime a woman wants to leave a relationship, it must be because her man was a horrible person.
I like to see things working out. I like fairy tale ending. You know, I like happy families, and I don't have any contempt for either gender specifically. I want to see people, you know, in love and making cute babies.
That's a pretty good world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you support repealing no-fault divorce? Do you think family law is currently unfair and that overwhelmingly is slanted in favor of the woman in the vast majority of cases? Do you think that women who have friends who divorce increase the likelihood that they're going to divorce? I mean, these are all topics if you want to debunk the red pill, you need to address these facts, and you're completely ignoring it.
I think that we can bring that back. I think that you being here and challenging the red pill, and you being here and teaching people about this, me challenging it in my areas, all of us as we challenge these lies. What's interesting is for every man that popped up in my feed saying, Adam, you're horrible. You want men to die. You want us to be slaves to women. You want men to kill themselves.
Well, that's not far off. I mean, if a man has to take responsibility for everything a woman does, to include her decision to divorce him, then he is effectively her slave.
For every guy saying that, I had 2 more sending me thank you. You know, I just got out of red pill. Thank you. I've been investigating this. Thank you. One of my closest friends is in it now, and it's horrifying. Thank you. I've been out of it for 3 years, but I haven't known how to build better love and connections. I'm learning about attachment now. A guy's DMing me saying, what you're saying is making so much sense. I've been in red pill for 5 years. I've never been more miserable. So we are.
Okay, I'm not going to deny maybe he is receiving these messages. Again, what are the actual lies that he's identified so far? Nothing that they've said, that they've listed so far, that is a red pill lie is an accurate description of something the red pill teaches. And what have they actually prescribed for men other than you as a man need to realize that if you do everything right, your relationship will turn out well, because women only ever divorce men because their men are horrible people. That's all I've gotten out of this so far. Seriously, this is his prescription? This is the thing men are thanking him for that's really improving their lives?
We are getting to a better place step by step. You are helping with that. You're spreading that message. I always say podcasters are the ones who are helping shape the conversation in the world right now. The future is going to look back on podcasters as the people who spread the messages, and you're going to be helping. I'm helping. Everybody out there who is talking about this and learning about it is helping. We're getting back to people in love having babies.
Yeah, I am trying to help. And it's like, if I hated men, this is what I would tell them. If I wanted them to do bad and have a miserable life, I would tell them red pill things. But I don't. I love people, so I'm telling you this.
So you tell them that they're at fault when their women leave them, that if so long as you do everything right, you'll have a great relationship. And if your woman did leave you, it must be because you're a horrible person. Yeah.
This is not true, and that's why I invite you to help me out here. So let's get to number 3. So you said her sex life will drop off if you don't manage her through fear and pressure to make her compete for your sexual attention. This works on insecure women for the first year, but it's not love and it's manipulative.
Okay, I think what that point is talking about is, again, women are innately drawn to high status men. Therefore, if a man is in fact high status as perceived by other men, it is highly likely other women will also want to be with him. And this creates a paradox for women in as much as if other women do not want their man, she concludes that he must be a low value man and is not likely to want to stay with him. On the other hand, if other women want her man, it also creates anxiety for her because she sees that he has the option to leave her and go to another woman. It's often called competition anxiety. And that is not to say that men cheating on their women is a good thing or that men ought to constantly remind their women that they could cheat if they can. It's merely a recognition of the fact that a woman's nature compels her to be attracted to a man who could cheat, although she would not want him to cheat. That's all the red pill is saying.
I had a guy post red pill come to me. He's married. And he said, Adam, what do you think about this? This thing that red pill men tell you to tell your wife. If her sex drive is low, you go to her and say, I am having sex tonight. You get first dibs as being the person I'm going to have sex with. Do you want to take me up on it?
Who is saying this exactly? I mean, do you have an actual content creator you can point to? I mean, I might presume it's someone in the PUA community, but who is saying that? Again, accepting the red pill doesn't mean you believe that's something you as a man ought to do. But again, it's not. Does that deny the reality of competition anxiety? That women are aroused by men who are able to cheat, though not necessarily. They don't necessarily want their men to cheat. That's a fact. Doesn't mean men should cheat or that it's good to necessarily rub that in your woman's face, but it is a fact.
Like to your wife, with your little kids sleeping in the next room. Hi, I'm going to go out and find someone to have sex with tonight. You get first dibs. Are we up or not? I don't. Let me think about it. You know, it's coercive. It's control. It's fear. They talk about dread game. You have to keep her afraid all the time, and she'll love you for it because she wants to be afraid all the time because it makes her feel like you're a high value man. And
okay, this is something that comes from the pickup artist community. Again, I do not consider myself part of the pickup artist community, but that's not explicitly red pill. Now, there's an underlying red pill truth, that being competition anxiety. Women want men who have the ability to cheat, though they do not want their men to cheat. That's the underlying fact. Now, what you choose to do with that information, that's up to you. The pickup artist community has chosen to use this as a means of they seek to exploit this fact in an effort to get more sex from more women. Is that right or wrong? Well, we can debate that, but again, it only works because the underlying fact is true.
She should be afraid of losing you, so she should have all this sex with you so that she doesn't lose you. Well, that's called exploiting a woman who has anxious attachment styles. Actually, what that is, that's that's prodding her abandonment issues to exploit her for sex is really what that is. It's evil. I mean that's evil. That's actual evil. That's very close to rape, arguably.
Oh, please. You're actually going to say that's, I'm not going to say the word on my own stream, but using force to obtain sex from a woman, that's forcibly and criminally exploiting a woman's nature, understanding how a woman behaves to try and influence her to have sex with you. That is the same as a criminal act that comes down to using force against someone who cannot consent. That is absolute garbage. You really think women don't try to manipulate men to get what they want? Is that criminal? Is that stealing? Would you say a woman who pretends to like a guy so that he'll buy things for her? Which anyone who lives in this world knows that kind of thing happens all the time. What if I said that woman is literally a thief? That's arguably theft by her using her feminine wiles to try and get a man to buy her something. That's just garbage. The reality is people do manipulate other people to try and get what they want. Men do it and women do it. And if you understand male and female, you can better protect yourself from it happening.
Doing that is the opposite of how the female sex drive works. The female sex drive is driven after the first 7 to 12 months, especially through oxytocin. And oxytocin is derived and floods you when you feel safe in the absence of stress, the absence of fear, when you trust somebody, when a man is worthy of your respect, when he cares for you, and when you feel valued, and when you feel like you are providing value to him in return. in a loving, reciprocal, emotionally intimate relationship, the female sex drive goes through the roof, and you have to
Okay, again. So where are the romance novels and popular TV shows and movies that talk about the reciprocal, respectful relationship where a woman is just she's mutually respected by her husband and they're on the same page and they love each other so much so her sex drive just goes through the roof. I'll wait. Don't worry.
fight her off with a stick. So if there's a sex drive problem happening, it is almost always an intimacy problem, emotional intimacy, which usually tracks back to an attachment issue in one or both of the partners.
Mhm.
So pretending that you just have to make her terribly afraid so that she'll have sex with you, that will eventually lead to that 70% divorce statistic.
Right.
Oh yes, that will lead, the man will force his woman to divorce him by undertaking this action because she's not responsible for the things that she does. All right. Well, I had hoped to get through this entire podcast on this live stream, but we've been going for about an hour and a half, and I see we're only about halfway done. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to break this into 2 different live streams. I'll hopefully get the rest done later this week. In the meantime, I want, again, to summarize what we've covered so far. The red pill is simply a recognition that men and women have distinct natures. Men are naturally polygamous and, absent moral, legal, or societal restraints, tend to pursue whatever strategy allows them to have sex with the highest number of women. Women, on the other hand, are naturally hypergamous and, absent moral, legal, or societal restraints, tend to pursue a relationship with whatever man is both able to give her the best prospect for strong, healthy children, and 2, provide the greatest protection and provision for her and her offspring so that she can live comfortably, not necessarily in the same man. In other words, if she can move from one monogamous relationship to another with a different man who she perceives as higher value than her current man, she will naturally seek to do so. That does not mean that every man and every woman will always do this. But what it does mean is that when you live in a society with a totalitarian government that puts policies in place, specifically ones that seek to remove the consequences, for the natural consequences for women pursuing their hypergamous nature, it's not surprising that we see more hypergamous actions taken by women that wreck relationships, and that men by and large decide they want to opt out of this whole thing altogether. That's all the red pill is. Now, what you choose to do with that information, that's up to you. Some become PUAs, some go MGTOW, some, adopt the incel moniker, which I think is absolutely stupid, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, all the red pill is the truth, nothing more. First, which of these so-called red pill lies they've talked about so far even remotely accurately captures the red pill? And 2, of everything they've said, what exactly have they prescribed? What are you as a man supposed to conclude listening to them, other than women are never responsible for the decisions that they make, and if a woman leaves you, it's always because you were a horrible person? I can't see anything else, but feel free to leave your comments, and tune in later for part 2 where we will take down the rest of this. And as always, that is my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. And we are live. Hello, everyone. This is My 2 Cents, and welcome back to my channel for part 2 of Debunking Red Pill Lies, in which we are reviewing the Out of This World podcast with Jamie Hanshaw and dating coach Adam Lane Smith, in which they are seeking to debunk these supposed lies that are told to men under the guise of the red pill. To give everyone, for those of you who haven't seen last week's stream, it is available on my channel to catch up, but to just give a brief overview again of why I'm reviewing this. Again, my channel was primarily, at least initially created, I talked a lot about free market economics and why government is so destructive. But over time, I've gotten really passionate about talking about men's issues, specifically because the reason government has become so totalitarian today is in part, largely, because of the gender wars we're currently seeing and the ability of government to manipulate women as a voting bloc towards its cause of expanding its power, women and blue-pilled men. And the reason I was so disgusted by this particular podcast is because, one, Adam Lane Smith doesn't, despite his claims of having, studied this issue for years and years, he doesn't even really seem to understand what the red pill is. And two, all the supposed lies he's teaching don't come from the red pill at all. At best, they are taking a particular red pill concept and taking it to an extreme illogical conclusion and then claiming that's what all red pill men believe. So to quick recap, what is the red pill? The red pill, when it comes to gender issues, is simply an understanding of two different facts. Men and women are biologically different and have different biological drives towards the end of reproducing and passing on their genes to the next generation. Point number one, men are naturally polygamous and absent moral or societal restraints will tend to pursue whatever strategy allows them to have sex with the highest number of different women, thereby ensuring that they have the most children and the highest chance that they pass their genes on to the next generation. Women, on the other hand, are naturally hypergamous and absent moral, legal, or societal restraints tend to pursue a two-pronged strategy. First, they seek to mate with the highest, most valuable genetic specimen of male available, thereby ensuring that they will have the strongest, healthiest children. And after they accomplish that, seek to secure the highest value man available for providing them and their offspring protection and provisioning. However, although they do not typically in this fashion seek multiple partners like men will, they will, whenever possible, seek to trade up from their current partner to one who is better able to either give them higher value genetic healthy offspring or transfer their loyalties to a male who is better able to provide protection and provision to their offspring. And that's all the red pill is. Now, what you do with that information is up to you. Within what is called the red pill, there are many other communities, such as Men Going Their Own Way, MGTOW, the pickup artist community, the men's rights activists, black pillars, incels. There are many other communities within the broader umbrella of the red pill that accept the red pill, but they have wildly different solutions about what you as a man ought to do with this information. But all the red pill is the acceptance of those facts. The question I want everyone to ask before we review the rest of this podcast is, again, will Jamie Hanshaw or Adam Lane Smith attempt to actually refute those points, say that is not how it is. This is actually a better explanation of how men and women behave. And two, if you accept what they are saying, will it by and large help you as an individual, or will it by and large help women as a whole and in all likelihood promote greater state involvement in relationships and the family? And I think so. We proved pretty well last time that both Jamie and Adam Lane Smith, whatever they say, they are clearly feminists and believe that all men's relationships problems stem by and large from men being horrible people. If you disagree, you're free to review anything I said last time or this time. Let's go ahead and get the stream up here. And I'm going to back up just a little bit just to make sure that we overlap everything that was said last time. Let's get into this.
You have to keep her afraid all the time, and she'll love you for it because she wants to be afraid all the time because it makes her feel like you're a high value man, and she should be afraid of losing you. So she should have all this sex with you so that she doesn't lose you. Well, that's called exploiting a woman who has anxious attachment style. Is actually what that is. That's that's prodding her abandonment issues to exploit her for sex. Is really what that is. It's evil. I mean that's evil. That's actual evil. That's very close to rape, arguably. Yeah. Doing that is the opposite of how the female sex drive works. The female sex drive is driven after the first 7 to 12 months, especially through oxytocin. Mm-hmm. And oxytocin is derived and floods you when you feel safe, in the absence of stress, the absence of fear, when you trust somebody, when a man is worthy of your respect, when he cares for you, and when you feel valued, and when you feel like you are providing value to him in return. In a loving, reciprocal, emotionally intimate relationship, the female sex drive goes through the roof and you have to fight her off with a stick. So if there's a sex drive problem happening, it is almost always an intimacy problem, emotional intimacy, which usually tracks back to an attachment issue in one or both of the partners. Mm-hmm. So pretending that you just have to make her afraid so that she'll have sex with you, that will eventually lead to that 70% divorce statistic.
Right.
And I believe that is right where we stopped last time. And again, I'm not going to repeat what I said last time regarding competition anxiety, but bear in mind, again, he said that will eventually lead to the 70% divorce statistic. What he is asserting is that women, when they despite the fact that women divorce the vast majority of the time, 70% of the time in general, and 90% of the time or more when the woman is college educated, the assertion made by Jamie and by Adam is that this, even though the woman is the one pulling the trigger, she's the one initiating the divorce, the man is always, or at least in the vast majority of circumstances, at fault for his woman's choice to divorce. Never forget, women are individuals capable of making their own choices, and to say that a man forces his wife to divorce him because he has bad behavior of some sort is fundamentally no different than a legitimately physically abusive husband saying, my wife makes me hit her because of her bad behavior. That is just garbage. No one makes you do anything. If a woman chooses to divorce, that is her choice. She has to own it.
And I think, well, speaking as a woman, I think the most arousing thing is being comfortable, right? That puts you in the mood faster than anything, faster than fear or excitement or being impressed. I think just feeling like you are safe and you're fed, you're loved, you're warm. That's when it opens up for men.
Okay, again, we talked about this last time, but if what Jamie is saying is true, that the thing that arouses women most is fundamentally feeling comfortable, then where are all the romance novels and erotic female content, porn for women, which is what romance novels is, that talk about these respectful men who just make women feel so comfortable that they can't resist but to rip their clothes off and jump into bed? I know of none, but I know of plenty. Last time we talked about 50 Shades of Grey, the Netflix series Sex Life. We talked about these best-selling novels and videos and series made for women by women that are all about men that have fetishes that are basically violent towards women, men who are traditional alpha males, confident, sleeping with all kinds of women, but they pick her for the night. And those are the ones that just women go crazy for. We're at the case that all women were needed to, the thing that fundamentally arouses women is being comfortable. I mean, come on. Do you really expect us to believe that?
And, we don't, in our marriage, in our, the way that we view the world in our Christian marriage, you don't deny the other person just because. You have made an agreement that I'm here for you for that reason and you're here for me for that reason. And without due cause or like as much as I can, I'm going to try and satisfy you in that way. But there are times when you have to use your discipline and you have to wait, or, you have to hold off a little bit or use a little romance. And I think in marriage.
Okay, so Jamie is saying she is a Christian and she has a Christian marriage. Now, I can say, I know not all my audience are Christians, but for those of you who are, you ought to know that the Apostle Paul talks about in denial of sex in 1 Corinthians and says specifically that husbands and wives are not to deny each other sex except during times of mutual agreement. But she's saying, there are times when you have to hold back. And I would presume she's probably taking the position, which is extremely popular among modern so-called Christian women, that women can deny their husband sex because they're not feeling into it for spiritual reasons. And more importantly, many women seem to think they can deny their husband sex in some kind of effort to discipline them, which is extremely unbiblical for anyone who knows what the Bible has to say on the subject. 1 Peter says clearly that women have no authority to discipline their husbands. That's not how a Christian marriage is set up. But I do want to point out as a side note, many women, Christian and non-Christian, do attempt to use denial of sex as a way to manipulate their husbands. You do what I want or I will deny you sex. And at least this is successful to a degree, except in the modern age, men typically have access to pornography and other things that they can use to satisfy their sexual desires. Now, is that necessarily moral? No, I don't think so. But I think what is important to note is one of the reasons modern women hate pornography so much is not out of a genuine concern for the health or morals of their men. They hate it because it makes it the process of denying sex in order to get what you want in your relationship is less effective if men have easy options like that they can use to satisfy their sexual desires. I know, strictly speaking, that's not where she was going, but I do want to point that out.
Which is especially when a man starts acting childish is the biggest turnoff. So they talk a lot about masculinity. You have to be like pumped and swole and like Liver King or Andrew Tate, or like all these masculine men, and that's how you attract a woman. I really don't agree with that. I think the masculinity comes from being an adult and knowing how to regulate your emotions and not throw tantrums, not have outbursts, not lose your temper. These things are what
I'd say that is largely projection. I mean, I know plenty of women who regularly throw tantrums. Think of all the men and women you know on a day-to-day basis. Who is more likely to throw a tantrum in public, in the workplace, in the grocery store, anywhere else? Are men or women more likely? Yeah, I think we all know the answer.
Women are attracted to in reality. It's not muscles are nice and they're useful for lifting heavy things, but it's the way you feel around the person. Like you mentioned, you'd have to feel safe and comfortable, and that's.
And again, I would point out, Jamie again said she is a Christian and has a Christian marriage. Where in 1 Corinthians did Paul say you are allowed to deny your husband sex if you're not feeling comfortable, whatever that means? It does not. It says you are not to deny one another unless you mutually come to agree to abstain for a time. And that mutual means the husband must go along with it. It is not something she as a wife can demand.
That's when the arousal happens. Do you agree with that?
Things that would make you a good father are going to make a woman aroused. Just generally speaking. Red pill guys like to go back to evolutionary psychology, which I think is great. I love evolutionary psychology. Apply it correctly. Evolutionary psychology says that a woman is going to be most aroused and most safe and most loyal to a man who would be an incredible father.
That is not technically true. Evolutionary psychology says she is going to be most aroused to have sex with a man who is most genetically advantageous and most likely to give her strong, healthy children. On the other hand, she is likely to use sex as a tool for getting a man, once she has secured those good genes. If that man is not going to stick around, she will then try to use her feminine wiles to find another man who is likely to stick around and provide protection and provision. But she will still inherently feel the drive, if another man becomes available, to transfer her loyalties to a better provider. Again, not necessarily in the same man. And I think that's one of the biggest confusing factors is women on one hand want, when it comes to the discussion between, say, black pillars and other members of the red pill about how much do looks matter when it comes to attracting a woman. Well, again, you got to understand evolutionary psychology. When it comes strictly to the reproduction angle, looks are pretty much it. Women are most likely to be aroused sexually by a man who physically appears to be the strongest physical specimen and is best going to give her the strongest physical offspring. However, that man, in all likelihood, may not be a good husband and good father. So after she's secured those good genes, she will then seek to transfer her loyalty to a man who is a protector provider. And that he may or may not arouse her sexually. She will, however, express interest in him. Her interest may or may not be sexual in nature. She may simply be using sex to obtain protection and provision. Again, that is not to say that this is moral or that's what women should do. It is just merely saying you as a man must understand that this is how female biology works, whether she understands it or not. But just because she can't understand her own nature doesn't mean you can't. You have to don't look at what she says she's looking for in a man. Look at what she does. And again, those two statements I said, men are naturally polygamous, women are naturally hypergamous. Think back to your experience dating, starting in high school and all the way until now, however old you are. What better explains men's and women's behavior in dating? The red pill or what Adam Lane Smith and the rest of the blue pillars are explaining here? Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not the dude bro who's flexing in his car driving by with 3 bikini models to make his wife jealous so that she'll have sex with him later that night.
Right.
She's going to be with the guy who is an incredible father. So would this make me a great father? Do that. That is probably what's going to do it. As
Yeah.
long as
Because
her
sex leads to
attachment is on
babies,
point.
right?
It does. That's
Yeah.
evolutionary psychology.
And another point to make. Women cared a lot more about a man being a good father when there was no welfare state. Women needed men to support them and protect them. And further, for all but recent history, having sex was a huge risk to women because if she got pregnant, she's now in an imperiled physical condition. She's less able to run away from danger. She's going to need a man to protect her. And further, if that men inherently know taking care of someone else's child is not in my best interest, that's not my child. It does not help me propagate my genetic legacy. Why should I take care of another man's child? So if she mated with Chad Maximum, the biggest, most genetically superior man, but he didn't stick around, and then she discovered that all the other men who weren't as genetically superior still were not willing to take care of her. Oh boy, she's in trouble. But bear in mind, modern women don't face that problem. We have modern police forces that are trained to default to women are always right, women are always innocent victims, and they will always believe what women say. And further, even if the father of her children doesn't stick around, she doesn't need to worry. The court will award her child support. And even if the man is dirt poor, she can count on there being social welfare programs so that she doesn't have to worry about working to take care of her children. So this again goes to show when government steps in and enacts these policies that remove the natural consequences of a woman's hypergamous decisions, we should not be surprised that they are far more narcissistic in their decision making and tend to act hypergamously much more often because the natural consequences have been removed by government. What Adam Lane Smith's saying about you need to show you're a good father, that was true once. But because government has essentially said, women, it doesn't matter what you do, we will protect you, women care a lot less about whether or not men are good fathers than they used to.
Women have sex. Well, back then, 10,000 years ago, they didn't have very many good, reliable birth control options.
Yeah.
So sex probably would lead to babies. And I don't know if you've seen a pregnant woman, but they don't tend to walk very quickly in the third trimester.
Exactly.
They don't tend to hunt very well. And you don't want a pregnant woman waddling into battle against a saber-toothed tiger or against, other tribe. You want safety, security, and clustering in the middle. So you want a reliable man who's going to take care of you and provide for you.
And Adam is absolutely right on this point. But again, is that still the case given no-fault divorce, a family law system that overwhelmingly grants child custody, alimony, and child support to women, and further, a welfare system that guarantees that even if the husband is dirt poor, the woman does not need to fear. The government will not let her or her child go hungry. She is guaranteed some kind of social safety net to protect her, whether the father of her children sticks around or not. Are we going to talk about that at all? Is Adam going to talk about that at all? Does he factor that? Does he believe that at all factors into modern women's decisions?
Now, it's not politically correct to say in our current world, but it's what our evolution has tracked for. So the closer that a man is to a real man who would be a good father, the closer he's going to be to having a loving, wonderful wife that is a good wife.
Mm-hmm.
As long as she is healthy in her attachment.
And takes responsibility. So I've never once thought in being attracted to a man, how many Bugattis does he have? Never once. Okay. Has that entered into...
Okay, on the point, the whole Bugatti thing has been made famous because Andrew Tate famously loves to tweet about how many Bugattis he has. She never once has she thought about, when considering a man, how many nice cars does he have. I would like to point out, there have been actual academic studies that have been done on this, where you had a male model and a female model, and they were posed in a vehicle, exactly the same vehicle, the exactly same model, same outfit, same pose, except they took both the male and the female, and they had them take a picture in a Ford Fiesta and in a Lincoln Continental. Or I don't remember if that was the exact car, but off the top of my head, I know it was a Ford Fiesta or it was, one of these very nice, expensive cars. And then men were told to rate the female in both pictures, and women were told to rate the male in both pictures and say which picture they found to be more attractive. Well, to the surprise of no one, the men said the woman was equally attractive in both pictures, whether that was an attractive woman. And if she was sitting in a Ford Fiesta or if she was sitting in a Mercedes or whatever car it was, it didn't matter. She was equally attractive in both pictures. Women, on the other hand, overwhelmingly stated that the man was more attractive when he was sitting in the Mercedes or whatever vehicle it was. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the authors of the study cited dozens of other studies that supported this view, but it shows very clearly this is not up for debate. There is a direct link in the female brain between wealth and arousal. Women are more likely to be aroused by a man with a nice car than a man without one. That doesn't mean that in every single woman everywhere, she will always pick the guy with the nice car over the guy who doesn't have one. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it is undeniably true that women value wealth and tend to pursue men who signal wealth more than men that do not. That is female nature. You can try to deny it, but observation of reality just shows that's not the case.
My decision-making process, but I want to know, like, is he responsible? Okay, does he know what time it is? He's sobered? Can he drive? Like the things that, because being pregnant is a very vulnerable place.
Yeah.
Not
what's sorry. You know what's interesting?
And again, they're going all over this. This is all true, technically speaking, but they're not talking about the fact government has stepped in and made it much less dangerous. Government has done everything it can to remove the natural consequences of hypergamy. Should we be that surprised that women are acting more in accordance with their hypergamy and being less careful than they used to be in past generations?
Interesting here is the kinds of women that would be attracted to a man with a Bugatti. The way that money and wealth track in is when you don't believe anybody will ever treat you well, or if you don't believe anybody will ever treat anybody else well. If you don't believe that real love and honorable behavior and decency are possible for you, then you fall back on basic things you can trust outside of humans, which is money. Those are the only women who are going to go for Bugattis. So the dudes who
again, Bugattis, not every woman's going to say he must have a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a Bugatti. But again, studies have shown that women, more so than men, are at least 1,000 times more sensitive to what their mate's salary is. And most women will not even seriously consider dating a man unless he first proves that he makes at least 30% more than she does. There are numerous academic studies that back that up. So again, you're not disproving the red pill here. All you're pointing out is that there are numerous factors that go into a woman's selection. And what I'm saying is you're not addressing the fact that government meddling in this process to remove the natural consequences is having a profound effect on the decisions women are making. Does it mean all women in all circumstances will always cheat on their husband with a richer guy? No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying this is how women behave and government is messing it up. Where is the talk about this? You're supposedly talking about red pill lies.
You follow red pill, you are only going to attract women who are going to confirm the bias that red pill tells you about. That's it. You're not going to find the healthy women because they will not allow you within 10 feet of them because they can smell you.
Hey, your vibe is your tribe. And I see all of these podcast shows, and all they do is invite, a parade of strumpets on their show to make fun of them, which is deplorable in itself. And then they get this idea that that's what all women are like because that's all that they're exposing themselves to, right?
Yeah.
Hey, okay, they're talking about shows like Fresh and Fit, which they've already been exposed as frauds. I don't need to talk about them. But I think an important point here, yes, some of these pickup artists in particular invite OnlyFans models and other women on their channel that really showcase the worst aspects of female nature so that they can laugh at them and so that they can make money off their male audience. But one thing I notice is, are women like Jamie actually actively calling out their sluttier sisters who behave this way? Because on one hand, they say this is deplorable. Not all women are like that. But the supposedly traditional conservative women are always completely unwilling to actually call out women for bad behavior. This is when women behave like this, they're not coming out saying these women don't represent us. This is horrible behavior. We renounce these women. They deserve everything that's coming to them. No, they always say these poor women, they've only been mistreated by men. If their father had just been better, if their boyfriend had just been better, they wouldn't have made these mistakes. They still, ironically, end up blaming men for the position these women are in. I will believe you're not a feminist when you actually say women as individuals need to bear the consequences for their own decisions.
these women look just like the ones on the porno videos that I watch. That confirms that all women in the real world are just like this. Yeah, that's exactly.
And again, not the claim is not all women in the world act like this. It's all women are affected by the same natural impulses that these women are. These women have taken it to 100% and acted on their hypergamy to the moon and made a ton of horrible decisions as a result. Not every woman does the same. And again, I'll go back to this example. We could look at a man who has cheated on his wife over and over. Maybe had 20 different partners, and he has children out of wedlock, and he's just cheated on her over and over. And you can say, well, not all men cheat on their wives like that. You're right. But I'll tell you this, every married man has seen just as many other women as that man and felt the desire to have sex outside of marriage like that man. He's just made a better choice. What separated him from the cheater is not his natural impulses, but the decisions he chose to make. The women who don't drive up their hypergamy to 100, what separates them from these girls that go on Fresh and Fit is not their natural impulses, it's the decisions that they make. And yes, many women make better decisions, but that doesn't mean they're not subject to the same hypergamous drive. It doesn't mean that you as a man should be completely ignorant of this, or that you shouldn't especially be aware of how no-fault divorce and family law and all these other aspects greatly tilt the system into her favor. Are you really sure, as you think you are, that she's so much better than these other girls that you're not at risk for divorce and getting raked over the coals in divorce court? Can you be sure of that? That's what the red pill encourages men to do.
Exactly what they're doing.
So, speaking of those women, lie 4, you said all women have personality disorders and need to act avoidant to control them. They don't say this explicitly, but red pill teaches you that all women have a personality disorder and you have to counter that with avoidant attachment. It's extremely dysfunctional.
Okay, at least he's admitting no one says this explicitly. He's claiming this is something that is implicit to the red pill. Now, again, no one in the red pill is saying all women have personality disorders. Here is what we are saying. Women are naturally, to a degree, narcissistic. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, when you consider the natural reproductive drive of men and women, a man can, in theory, could reproduce with 100 women in a year, more even. A man can pretty much keep having children. He can have multiple children a year with multiple partners pretty much until he dies. Women, on the other hand, are limited to one pregnancy at a time. It puts them in an imperiled condition when they're pregnant. They need to be protected. And further, they are working on a biological clock. They're going to run out of eggs eventually. They can't waste their time with men who don't benefit them. So for that reason, men are naturally outward looking, seeking to find and impress women to have children with them. Women are naturally inward looking, seeking to protect themselves and do what is best for them, whether it benefits the man or not, because they know, unlike the man, they don't have, as the time restrictions and activity restrictions are much higher on them, so they tend to look inward. This tends to manifest itself in a narcissistic fashion, in that women are naturally going to be looking out for their best interests, not the best interests of their men or their nation or whatever else. And this is empirically proven when you look at how men are much more likely to be loyal to their woman. It is much harder for a man to get over a breakup than a woman is. And men, interestingly enough, another factor into this, men are more capable of being patriotic and loyal to their nation than women are. And a great example of this, in World War II, as soon as France fell to the Nazis, we had what was called the German bastard epidemic. And what that was is that after France fell under Nazi control, large amounts of French women immediately started having sex with German soldiers. And after the war, all these half German, half French children that were born from these unions were labeled German bastards, and these women had their head shaved, had all their hair shaved off to publicly shame them. Well, what does that show? It shows that women, unlike the men, women were not inherently loyal to their nation. Once they felt the Germans had won, they decided, you know what, these guys won. I have to take the action that's in my best interest, that's going to help me to reproduce and ensure my genes get passed on to the next generation. And the best thing I can do to do that is transfer my loyalties to the guys who are winning. Again, that is not to say all women have some kind of personality disorder. It's again being aware of how women innately work, how their minds function, and how they naturally look inward as opposed to outward because of the difference in their reproductive strategy. Doesn't mean all women are going to make the same decision, but again, are they at all going to talk about the fact that government is actively working to remove the natural consequences so women are much less hesitant to act in this manner?
Mm-hmm. Women with severe personality disorders, I do not want to demonize them. Usually they've been through pretty severe abuse. A personality disorder is the extreme version, the fully diagnosable version of attachment issues. It's one of the only allowances of attachment that they put into the DSM-5 or the 4. That's one of the only things that therapists really.
The DSM he's got there on his shelf, I'm not sure which one it is, but I know the DSM has been adjusted recently to remove gender dysphoria as a issue. I bring that up to say the people who are deciding on the DSM are by far far left political liberals. I wouldn't trust anything that's listed in the most current DSM.
Really learn about for attachment theory. Most therapists don't know about attachment theory. So when it's that extreme, her terror at being abandoned, being controlled, being hurt, having to avoid intimacy, having to avoid trust or love, all of that has welded together into a semi-permanent state of being where that's how she engages in all of her relationships, and especially her romantic ones.
Mhm.
So yes, that is what Red Pill is describing, as a woman who will leave you the moment you are too vulnerable, or the moment you lose your job, or the moment you're sick, or the moment you cry in front of her, or the moment you anything. She will get up and run from the room because she no longer feels safe, and she'll do anything to find somebody else immediately who makes her feel safe. Yes.
Again, that's a lie. We're not saying any woman anywhere will immediately leave you, but the underlying principle is true. Women are biologically programmed to be attracted to men who show signs of strength and show that they are going to protect and provide for them. If you show vulnerability to a woman, she will inherently be less attracted to you. Doesn't mean she's going to leave you at that moment. And yes, Adam Lane Smith is correct on this point. Borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, not every woman is diagnosable in those kind of things. But every woman is affected by her inherent inward look. What's the best way to judge whether you're dealing with that kind of woman? Well, again, look at her. You look at her past. You look at the decisions she's made in the past. I've always found one of the best predictors is what kind of man is her father and what kind of relationship does she have with her father. If she really is, part of a woman becoming emotionally sound is having a strong father figure in her life when she's young. And unfortunately, because of no-fault divorce and because of women being able to rip their children fathers at any time, we have more and more women growing up without fathers, which means we have an increasing number of women every year who are more likely to be affected by these personality disorders. But again, is Adam Lane Smith fighting against that? Is he saying we need to repeal no-fault divorce? We need to encourage couples not to divorce so that we have women growing up with fathers in their lives so that they're less likely to be affected by this? No, he already said the last stream we talked about women only divorce for righteous reasons. Therefore, he pretty much supports women leaving their husbands because they only do so when their husbands are horrible people. Give me a break.
That is the woman Red Pill is describing, is the most severe women with personality disorders and without consciences who are both. That's what Red Pill is describing to a T, and saying every woman on earth is this way.
No, not every woman on earth is this way, but they're getting more like that again. So let's start advocating that the state stop screwing with the family, which is ensuring that with every passing generation, more and more women are going to be exactly like this.
Exactly what's happening.
Well, and they do have a legitimate grievance, because we talk a lot about, on my show, we talk about psyops and how culture is steered to go in certain directions by powers that you know nothing about, right? Propaganda and elite and things like that. So in my opinion, I feel like the popular culture today that we have is a vehicle for making narcissistic people. So you're going to run into that, and you're going to have interactions that are negative and damaging to you if you don't know what to look out for. But then it's funny, like, this has always been, women are too emotional. I don't understand. What do you want? You don't make sense. So there's a couple reasons for that, and we've kind of covered them on my show a little bit before. Hormones is a big thing. Women are on a 28-day cycle, men are on a 24-hour cycle. So you have to pay attention to those different hormones on the different weeks of her cycle. She's going to be acting differently, right? And have different needs and be relating to you in a different way.
Again, this doesn't mean she's going to, because of her cycle, wander into an alley and have the time of her life.
No.
She's probably just going to be different with you in her relationship.
Okay, what Jamie and Adam are saying here is pretty much the red pill. There are psyops going on from the powers that be, specifically government. They are encouraging women to be more narcissistic, to try and remove the natural consequences of their hypergamous natures so that they are more encouraged to take these actions, which will lead to more children being born still. The government wants children to be born. They need workers, but it wants them to be raised in government indoctrination centers, i.e. public schools, not by strong fathers. This is the red pill. So what you're saying, men should not believe this? We shouldn't be aware of these things when we pursue relationships with women? I'm not following, but let's keep going.
Like she's ovulating and she wants it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the alley moment is ovulation. There you go.
And then they talk a lot about logic versus emotions. I hear this in Red Pill a lot. Well, men are logical, so we're always right because we think of things in a purely logical way, and you think of things in a purely emotional way.
Okay, is that true in 100% of aspects? No, but again, that is by and large true. Men are more logical thinkers. Women are more emotional thinkers. This is why men are designed to be the head of the family and women are designed to be the caretaker of the family. When they work together, they accomplish something together that neither can by themselves. This is absolutely true. Are all two individuals exactly the same? Are there some women that are more logical than emotional? Of course, there are exceptions, but the exceptions prove the rule.
And neither of those, they have to work in synergy. Right? Logic and emotion. You just can't be Spock and you can't be like a crazy person. But another thing that we are investigating now is birth control and how that has an effect on how you relate to people, especially men. So there have been cases where the woman will go off birth control and she is no longer attracted to her partner because he doesn't have the pheromones that she would need off birth control. He doesn't have the personality type. Maybe he's a little effeminate for her. So when you go off the birth control, that's when you want the high testosterone men. And
again, that's the red pill. That's evolutionary psychology. That's what we're saying. So again, this is all about how the red pill is a lie, yet you're agreeing with large amounts of what it actually teaches.
Birth control, it affects all of your physiology, not just your reproductive, but your attitudes and the way that you interact with people. So I know this is cutting edge stuff, but it also contributes to why guys think women are irrational because we're being poisoned in all sorts of ways.
Maybe men think women are irrational because by and large, women act for emotional, not rational reasons. Give me a break.
Very true. We're all being poisoned emotionally. The research shows that 50 years ago, only about 1/3 of American adults in America, for example, had attachment issues. 2/3 did not. Then the research about 25 years ago was about 50-50. Now the research shows that about 2/3 of adults in America have an attachment issue and only 1/3 of them have secure attachment.
Now, here's a point I want to make. So Adam Lane Smith, his whole dating coach, psychologist persona seems to be about helping people fix their attachment issues. Tell me, is it financially good or bad for Adam Lane Smith for there to be more people with attachment issues or less? Clearly, it's good if there are a lot of people out there who have these issues because then they will come pay Adam Lane Smith to fix those issues. So does Adam Lane Smith therefore have a direct incentive to remove government policies and psyops that they've been talking about that are making people this way? No, clearly he has a direct financial incentive for people to be screwed up like this so they will then pay him to try and fix them. Are we starting to understand maybe why he's coming off as a feminist, why he's not saying anything about the government is at fault for a lot of these things, why he's so against the red pill? I wonder. I mean, I'll say as an aside, I don't know Adam Lane Smith personally. I can't say with any kind of certainty what his true motivations are. But again, the facts seem to add up there. So you do with that what you will.
Oh, wow.
So we are getting so much worse with the attachment, with our belief that love exists, with the belief we will be taken seriously, that we'll be cared for. Then you factor in, birth control, hormonal fluctuations. You factor in dudes looking at porn since they're 10, 12 years old and thinking that's what women want from them. So they have to be a porn actor to get a woman and make her happy and make her feel good. You factor in Tinder, where you can keep swiping. And when you sleep with one person, the novelty wears off. You can get your next dopamine hit by swiping on somebody else and leave their house, leave their apartment to go sleep with the next person. And fast food and everything that we're funneling into our bodies and our lives and our hearts and our beings, we are being poisoned endlessly. So cultivating.
And all this that you're saying, Adam Lane Smith, that's the red pill. That's pointing out how men's and women's natural natures are affected when you put all these things in place. You're right. Dating apps like Tinder have made women's hypergamy exponentially worse. Because when it used to be that a woman was basically limited to dating the people within her immediate town and her immediate community, thanks to online dating services like Tinder, a woman living in podunk nowhere, Nebraska, she can get in touch with a professional athlete who lives in California, or a rich businessman from Asia, or what have you. But we have what was once a local sexual marketplace is now a global sexual marketplace, and that combined with government policies that reward hypergamy make women behave even more like this. This is all the red pill. These are not lies.
Your life, curating your life and yourself is absolutely crucial if you want to live a life that means something to you. And that includes your relationships and your attachment.
And living chronically online, that's an emotional poison. And it does hamper, true love. So your line number 5, you said true love does not exist, only lifelong control. The biggest lie the red pill community teaches is the opposite of what I teach, that attachment can never be fixed, so you must become a manipulator.
That is not what the red pill teaches. Again, what the red pill teaches is because of men's and women's nature, men and women love differently than one another. Women, because they are biologically driven to, 1, have the strongest children possible, and 2, find a man who has better protection and provisioning than the man she's currently with. Women are fundamentally incapable of loving men the same way men love women. This isn't right or wrong. It's just the way that it is. True love doesn't exist. Let me tell you this. It doesn't matter how strong your emotional attachment to somebody. If you are a man and you stop providing for a woman, you stop protecting her, she will not stay with you, period. Men, much in the same way, men are incapable of ceasing to be attracted to many different women, no matter how wrongly a man loves his wife, no matter how committed he is to staying with her till death do us part. It is fundamentally impossible for him to stop being attracted to other women. This is just his nature. That's all the red pill is saying. Men and women love differently, and no matter how much they love each other and how committed they are to one another, they cannot change their inner nature, and you need to be aware of this, which is why in the past, when men and women got married, the vows specifically say, till death do us part. Not only that, but it used to be in America that if you wanted a divorce, you had to prove in court that there was some kind of just grievance on your part that justified you divorcing them. If you as a wife or a husband could not prove that your spouse had in some way wronged you, it was impossible to divorce. And further, as I've explained in my defending traditional marriage series, I firmly believe any marriage cannot succeed unless there is a contract in place that states very clearly and unequivocally, it does not matter who tries to divorce. If one partner tries to divorce the other, they immediately will lose all rights to child custody, possession of marital assets, or anything else. They must walk away with nothing if they want to divorce. How many people do you think would divorce if that were really the case? And further, that is the only circumstance under which I will truly believe that someone is divorcing because it's so bad that they would rather be broke and destitute than stay with the person. There have to be actual penalties for divorce. There have to be moral, legal, and societal restraints in place that prevent men and women from acting on their base natures to the benefit of them and to society. That's the only way marriage is going to succeed. And government has stepped in to make this impossible. And that's something they are not addressing at all.
Attachment can be fixed. It absolutely can. I had attachment issues when I was young growing up. I fixed them. I've helped thousands and thousands of others fix theirs. Attachment is real. You can heal. If there was no ever healing ever for any human being on the face of the earth, then Red Pill would be right.
Right.
And actually,
Yep, there's healing. All you got to do is pay $500 for Adam Lane Smith's dating coach course, or perhaps $7,000 for his 10-week psychology consultations.
Red Pill would still be wrong because Red Pill exists to try to teach men how to be different and how
No, Red Pill is just men and women have distinct natures. You don't have to like it. That's the way it is. You as a man, or even as a woman for that matter, must understand how male and female nature works if you are ever to have a successful relationship with a man or a woman. Period.
heal themselves. So even their own premise would be flawed if you believed their premise. It is a complete and total paradox in and of itself. It cannot function. So healing can happen. The reason you hear about attachment theory is so you can then fix your attachment.
Now, here's something I just want to say. Again, I am not a pickup artist. I do not belong to the pickup artist community. And I think by and large, most people in the pickup artist community are just sleazy individuals, much like Adam Lane Smith, that are trying to get lonely men to pay them money online to learn how to get laid. But I think one thing that is said by the pickup artist community, like it or leave it, what they're saying is, look, feminists got their way. Government, we now live in a society that exalts women above all else, that makes it so that a woman can accuse you of anything and she's going to be unconditionally believed. We've got a family law system that is unbelievably slanted in a woman's favor. And no matter what you try to do, if she pulls the trigger on you, you have no recourse. You could lose half your assets. You could lose your children. You could lose everything. Basically, what a lot of the pickup artists are saying is, we're so far gone. All I can do is understand this and use that knowledge to try and get what I want. And what I want is to have sex with lots of women. Now, you can say these people are sleazy, but all they're really doing is recognizing the current state of our culture and exploiting it to get what they want. And they're not fundamentally being any different than the women who are exploiting the laws that are currently in place to get what they want by divorcing their husbands and getting financial rewards. I mean, both people are doing wrong, in my opinion, but they're just reacting to the current state of our culture. And that current state is very, very heavily influenced by government policy. So if you want this to change, don't just go, you're not going to fix it by preaching to men about how the red pill is wrong. You've just got to do everything right and your woman's going to love you. You got to tell them the truth. And that is that government has screwed this up. Now we together need to figure out what we're going to do about it. And it's not going to change at all unless we can point the finger directly where it belongs, and that is at the state.
The reason that you endure these pain and suffering is so that you can learn to avoid those things and learn those lessons. Feelings are incredibly useful data. They shouldn't govern our decisions, but they should inform our decisions. That's the thing that red pill guys miss when they say we are purely logical. They're trying to go back to ancient times where men said, oh, women are sad little creatures. We will pat them on the head. Victorian era, even far back in ancient times, there were men who said this. Feelings should inform your decisions. Your wife should help advise you on the decisions that you make. Even the Bible says this very explicitly.
I don't know of anyone. The red pill has nothing to do with that. I would agree. In any successful marriage, although the husband is the leader and ultimately responsible, he should take his wife's input. I mean, any leader, anyone who's ever had employees under them knows if you're going to be a successful leader, if you're going to lead a company or a team, you have to listen to the input of your employees. And it's the same way with a husband and a wife. That really has nothing to do with the red pill.
And yes, reason should govern the day, but reason alone, divorced from feeling, divorced from art, divorced from spirit and meaning, reason, you become a robot killing machine. That's all you are, is the term.
Then why have you not, Adam, why have you not talked about no-fault divorce at all? Getting back to the 70% divorce statistic, you said that by and large, the only reason women divorce is because their husbands are just horrible people. But then women are also emotional and they need to take their feelings into account. I mean, I'm getting confusing messages on what exactly your viewpoint is on divorce. You can't understand the red pill if you don't understand no-fault divorce, family law, and how it affects marriage in today's day and age. And if you honestly believe that the only reason women divorce their husbands is because their husbands are horrible people, well, you know what? Let me put it to this way. I know this is an extreme example, and it's not an exact reflection of how modern no-fault divorce is set up, but I just want you to consider it as a thought experiment. Let's suppose that we lived in a society where there was a government that passed a law that said, we are passing this new law to protect husbands from Karen wives, basically wives that are super emotional and out of line and just making their husbands' lives horrible. So we're going to make it so that any husband anywhere has the right to execute his wife without question, without state involvement. And in fact, and when he does, he will receive a $10,000 payment direct from the state. I mean, that's a ridiculous example, but let's just for the sake of argument, let's assume that was the society we were living in and that was the law that was passed. And under this society, a man approaches a woman and says, will you marry me? And she says, are you crazy? Why would I put myself in a situation where you have the right at any time to shoot me in the head and kill me, and the state's going to pay you $10,000? I'm not willing to take that risk. And then suppose the man said, honey, you're being ridiculous. Do you really not trust me? Do you really not think I would ever do that to you? If that law was only put in place to stop bad women. If you're a good woman, aren't you? If you just do everything, you have no need to fear that I would ever do that. And she's like, okay, well, can we at least in our marriage, can you sign some kind of contract that removes that right from you to do that? And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, the fact that you would even think I would do that shows that offends me. Why are you so offended that I have the right to do that? I mean, are you saying you would be a bad wife? Because that's the only reason I would ever execute you like that. I would never do it unless you were a bad wife. The mere fact that you want to get rid of that law must show that you're a bad person. I mean, that's ridiculous. Of course, no woman would agree to a marriage under those circumstances. But think about it. That is really the situation modern men are put in. They're being told, look, no-fault divorce shouldn't matter to you. So long as you marry a good woman and you do everything right, you have nothing to fear. Really? Are women just so fundamentally good that we know for a fact they would never divorce a husband for selfish reasons? They'll never misuse no-fault divorce. The fact that they'll be financially and emotionally rewarded never has anything to do with a divorce. If that were the case, divorce rates should have been the same before there was no-fault divorce. There should have been just as many seeking divorce before no-fault divorce as after. Yet after no-fault divorce rates skyrocket. I wonder what's really going on here.
Terminator.
Yeah, it reminds me of those movies where they program the AI to fix all the problems of humanity, and its solution is to just kill everyone to eliminate suffering. Right?
That's pure reason.
The logical
right?
answer, right?
Right. And so many of these guys want to look at Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics. Oh, they had zero emotions. They killed their emotions. No, Marcus Aurelius was very clear. You experience your emotions. You feel them. You learn from them, but you do not allow them to govern you. And that's what red pill guys tend to miss is,
I don't know of any red pill person who says don't have any emotions at all. What they say is exactly what Marcus Aurelius said. You experience them, you don't let them govern you. And ultimately, you make your decisions based on reason, not emotion. Men, by and large, do that. Women, by and large, are wired to be more emotional. That's why when they work together, they give children what they need. They've got reason from their father and emotion from their mother. And when both parents are involved, as they should be, it raises functioning, successful adults. Why do you think when we have a generation that's being raised primarily by single mothers who are primarily emotional, we're getting more and more people who are just frankly idiots who can't reason to a rational conclusion if their life depended on it?
They would tell me to kill my feelings. No, they would tell you to experience them and be educated by them and then make your decisions as a reasoning man. That is the distinction here. There shouldn't be a distinction. There should not be a hostility or a false dichotomy between male or female. Yes, we are different. We are complementary. We should work together when we are healthy. That's how it should.
I fully agree. And I see that has nothing to do with the red pill, strictly speaking. No one in the red pill that I know of is contradicting that.
Should work.
And I support a patriarchy. I believe men should take the initiative to.
She can't say she supports a patriarchy and say she supports no-fault divorce. Those things are mutually exclusive.
Be the leaders, but they should also, take into account their opinions of their women, their perspectives. their counsel.
No, here's a great example I've heard used once. Way back when, there was a great men's rights blogger called Dalrock. He hasn't been blogging for a while now, but his blog is still available, dalrock.wordpress.com. I remember a specific article he talked about where he was responding to a Christian pastor who was basically saying that in marital counseling, anytime a man and a woman come for marital counseling, with the assumption that the man is always at fault for whatever the problems are. And the reason for this is that he says a man's leadership in a marriage is similar to that of a Navy captain. So in the Navy, the American Navy, the British Navy, any military navy in the world, the captain is responsible for where the ship goes. And if the ship runs aground, by and large, that will lead to the captain being relieved of command. And he uses the example, if the captain suppose the ship is, sailing at night and the sailor that's on the deck who's steering the ship runs aground. Even if the captain was asleep and in his bed at the time, the captain is responsible for all the sailors on the ship. And even though he didn't directly cause that sailor to run aground, he's still responsible. And that's the kind of situation we're in with a husband and a wife. That's why husbands are always at fault for the problems in their marriage. Well, Dalrock pointed out something important. The Navy is a military organization that is structured in a particular fashion. And in particular, the captain has complete and total authority over all sailors. The reason the captain is at fault if the ship runs aground is because he is directly responsible for training the sailors, telling them what to do, and ensuring they function properly. And if the sailors disobey, they get thrown in jail. Like, not kidding, that's how the military functions. If you disobey your commanding officer, you are going to the brig. But with that direct authority comes direct responsibility. So yes, in that situation, even if the captain was asleep and in bed, and if the ship runs aground, he's still at fault. But now let's alter the scenario. Let's suppose that sailor who's steering the ship, let's suppose that sailor had no obligation whatsoever to obey the captain. And in fact, if the captain ever issued that sailor an order he didn't like, he could call the U.S. Military Counseling Services and say that the captain was being abusive towards him. And further, if he decided he really didn't like the captain, he could eject the captain from command at any time and take command of the vessel. Would the analogy work then? Well, clearly it doesn't work when you put in all those factors. And that is exactly the situation modern women are in. You can say the man is in control all you want, but with no-fault divorce, the woman can at any time eject him from command and take command of the vessel. And further, because of the Duluth model and all these other legal situations that have put in place, she functionally never has to obey him because she can merely claim he's being abusive, and immediately an army of police are going to show up at her doorstep and handcuff the husband and drag him off to jail. So when you say you believe in patriarchy, you believe in husbands leading, you cannot believe that and believe in no-fault divorce and the current legal paradigm. The two are mutually exclusive, and not once so far have they talked about no-fault divorce. Not once have they talked about government policies that have been put in place that try and remove the consequences of a woman's hypergamous nature.
Their advice, their emotions, their love, it's all part of the package of a healthy society. In our culture, in our Orthodox culture, we view ourselves as a king and a queen of a household, right? And so it operates under, he is the head, but it's kind of like a car and a driver. Somebody has to, work the steering wheel and the brake pedal. You can't vote on every little nuance of decision making, but she is to be included and listened to, and her opinions to be valued in the home.
And Jamie, address no-fault divorce. Do you or do you not support no-fault divorce? Because if that is how you view the family, where the man is the king and the woman is the queen, if you believe the woman can at any time eject him from leadership and take command of the car and start steering it herself, you do not believe in patriarchy. Period. I'm sorry.
Think of it this way. If a woman chooses to submit to her husband, if they choose that life, there are two conditions under which a woman would submit. One is she is forced, and the other is that he is truly worthy of her trust and her following.
Now, here's the kicker. I love statements like this because women will often say, I believe in submission, but I'm only going to submit to my husband if he's loving me properly, if he's leading properly. Again, here's how leadership works. The leader is in charge and therefore responsible. if the people which the leader leads don't have to obey and can in fact at any time mutiny and remove the leader from control, the leader's leadership is fundamentally meaningless. It's really the people, it's really the woman who's in charge. If she at any time, if the man needs to fear that she can eject him from command at any time and she doesn't have to follow his commands, you can say she's forced. Look, if she chooses to marry him, she takes the vows voluntarily, then this is something she agreed to. You can call it force all you want. She has agreed to this arrangement, and now she has to live up to her terms of the agreement. The vows say, "Till death do us part." If you didn't really believe it, you shouldn't have spoken them. I mean, the same is true in the workplace. And yes, it's not quite the same because an employee, if you're an employee and you don't like your boss, you can in fact quit your job. But again, that's part of the contract you signed from the beginning. If you're going to stay in employment, you have to obey the boss.
And Red Pill, like so many things before it, takes the stance that women are incapable of choosing to submit to you and staying loyal. So the only option is force. But they live in a...
They're not incapable. It's simply against their nature. We need moral, legal, and societal restraints that reinforce this. And we need to ensure that the natural consequences of men's polygamous and hypergamous natures are left in place so that the natural marriage, one man, one woman, which is the local outcome of when hypergamy and polygamy crash, remains the norm.
World where men cannot force women to submit to them anymore. So they learn emotional coercion and manipulation to take advantage of injured women that they can then emotionally force into submitting to them.
The reason men can't force in the reason marriage doesn't work in the traditional sense is because of no-fault divorce, the Duluth model, and other state-enforced policies. Again, you're going to get nowhere with us unless you actually address these issues. This is why the red pill is catching on, because men and women have a nature. It's obvious to anyone with eyes and a functioning brain that men and women have these natures. Government has acted in a certain way, and we can see it based on the outcome. Fewer people are getting married. Those that are getting married have a much higher rate of divorce. So what are we as men supposed to do? Just ignore it and try to have the traditional deal anyways? You can't under the current paradigm. And that's what the red pill is encouraging men to figure out.
Whatever rising to being worthy of them. That is what red pill is doing. It is the oldest story in the book, just played out with new rules in a new environment.
And that's one of the big things that the red pill guys look for is, will she be submissive? But that in itself is not exactly a virtuous thing, because you could submit to wrong, you could submit to evil, you could submit to, vice, right?
Will she submit fully? And
here's a question. Everyone submits. The question is, to whom? Who has she submitted to in the past? Has she submitted to Chad Maximum? If so, why do you care if she submits to you or not? If you are to lead the household, you need a wife who's going to submit to you. It's not going to work if she's not going to. So look at who she has submitted to in the past. Are they better or worse than you? Are they more or less moral than you? That'll tell you a lot about her and what you need to know. If she sees submission to a good husband as a bad thing or something she's unwilling to submit, she's willing to agree to, she's not worth marrying. And the more women I hear, strangely enough, and look at my Twitter feed for anyone, my 2 cents on Twitter. Look at some of the debates I've been in recently. Almost all women everywhere, even the so-called Christian ones, hate the word submission. They claim despite the fact that it's 100% biblical, they say they're absolutely against it. They will not submit. They don't submit to no man anywhere. If that's the attitude you have, marriage can't work. Is it any surprise that men are deciding, I'm not going to get married at all?
Completely in every single way within 1 hour of meeting me and never ever ask me questions ever again for the rest of my life, then she's the kind of woman I need in my life forever. Yeah, that'll go real great. That'll go great for both of you.
But the submission, it's not that every woman has to submit to every man. A wife should submit to a righteous husband.
A wife should submit to her husband. Before she gets married, it is on her to properly vet him to make sure he is in fact righteous. If she chooses a bad man of her own accord, her obligation to submit does not go away. And that's something I think women refuse to accept accountability for their own choices. They keep trying to say, I don't have to submit to my husband because he's a bad man. Well, you know what, sister? All that proves is that you chose a bad man for your husband. Women's rights, women's liberation, you hated the fact that fathers were choosing husbands for their daughters. That was so oppressive and backwards. Women have a right to choose their own husbands. You wanted it, you got it. You know what that means? That means it is on you to vet your husband how you're going to. You speak your vows on your wedding day, promising to submit to him. If it turns out later that he's not a righteous man, tough luck. Broken your vows, this was your choice. You chose this man. If we keep bailing women out and saying it's not your fault that you picked a bad husband, are we really going to be so surprised that we get more of the same?
If he's worthy.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that you can't just force it on people like you're talking about, manipulate them into submitting to you. There's things in life like respect. You can't make somebody respect you. You can't make yourself have a bowel movement unless you really, take the laxative. It's something that happens under the proper conditions.
You're right. You can't make someone respect you. You can make someone submit to you. And further, if someone voluntarily agrees to be part of an arrangement where they are in submission to another, the fact that they don't respect them does not absolve them of that obligation. Again, women take zero accountability. The problem is, in our modern culture, men have no authority but 100% responsibility. Women have 100% authority but no responsibility. Authority without responsibility is tyranny, and responsibility without authority is slavery. And that really is the position where modern women, modern marriage, are put in a position where they have a tyrannical control of the marriage, and their husband is effectively their slave who will bear all the responsibility when it goes south. Are we really surprised that more and more men are deciding they're not interested in marriage?
Like a climax or something like that. If we're going to talk about relationships and love, you can't just order somebody, pleasure right now. It has to be, brought along in the proper way. And that is, how you get respect and submission, by being somebody who is worthy of that honor.
There are two conditions under which a man would not receive submission from his wife, typically. And one is that she is too broken to be able to trust somebody, right? There's that. And there is that he is not worthy of that submission.
What about her nature is naturally hypergamous, when the natural consequences of disobeying or leaving her husband are taken away, and society, government puts welfare in place, puts police in place that believe her unconditionally, and she can get what she wants from disobeying her husband, she just might. Are you seriously saying the only reason a woman will not submit to her husband is because her husband is not worthy? Anytime a woman refused to submit to her husband, it was because her husband was a bad man? Or could it have something to do with how family law is set up, with the fact that she'll be rewarded for disobeying her husband, and that she knows society, the police, the courts will always side with her, no matter what the facts actually are? This is just ridiculous, Adam.
Right.
It's one or the other. Both can be fixed. But you have to be smart, and you have to be careful, and you have to be honest about which it is. And it should be a discussion between the two of you. Do we want a submissive relationship? Do we want a traditional male-female submissive hierarchy based on trust, love, respect, cherishing, and mutual fulfillment, and building a life together? And he is the captain, she is the first mate.
Exactly.
He is the CEO, she is the COO. She's not the janitor, right? She's not the receptionist. She is a co-leader with him who happens to be just under his title, but she is over everybody else, and she chooses that so that the functioning hierarchy can make decisions.
And again, that situation you're describing, it cannot work if the COO, if the first mate, if the second in command has unilateral authority to eject the captain and take command of the vessel at any time. The situation can't work. And so long as we have no-fault divorce, that is the situation that will exist. Why aren't you addressing this? Further, areas that say, I don't want that, I want an equal partnership, there's no such thing. One person is effectively in charge. And what women usually say, what women really want when they say, I want an equal partnership, is they mean, I want the authority, but I want my husband to have the responsibility. Doesn't work that way. but that's what they are really saying they want. And you as a man should never agree to a situation like that. That is effective slavery. You are being set up to lose.
That is the model for a healthy situation like that. And to do that, he must be fully and completely worthy of it, which means no addictions, no pornography, which means not taking every opportunity to escape from responsibility. It means taking ownership of himself, being a disciplined man.
Yeah, women telling men about escaping responsibility. Yeah.
And of good virtue, of good character, who is trustworthy, reliable, who would be at all times an exceptionally good father. We circle back to it.
Mm-hmm. So, in our last minutes, can you tell us what would be the first step into trying to repair your brain from these red pill lies?
You, the viewer, tell me, what so far have they said that is actually coming from the red pill that is a lie? In fact, they've agreed with a great deal of what comes from the red pill. If anything, they've criticized some of the most fringe extreme PUAs, but that's not the red pill. And what have they offered you in return? Okay, we're in the last 5 minutes. Are they going to offer something meaningful to men to get out of these red pill lies? Let's see what they have to say.
Understand that they paint the world in blue pill, which is anxious attachment style. I'm not worthy of love and no one will ever love me, so I have to pretend. And red pill, I have to become powerful so I can make other people take me seriously, which is more avoidant. And they completely discount the possibility of secure attachment entirely. I don't know what kind of pill we want to call that yet. Maybe it's white pill. Maybe it's, I don't know. We haven't figured out the color for that one yet. We'll get there. But secure attachment is the answer. And it breaks you free from this false dichotomy, the false binary of I must either be controlled or be the controller. No, you can choose to be a full integrated human being who then connects only with full integrated human beings.
Adam, can I do that in a society where there are laws in place that, as you mentioned, allow the woman, in your own analogy, we're going to have a traditional relationship. I'm the captain, she's the first mate. But in the society we live in, she reserves the right at any time to eject me from command and take control of the vessel, financially ruin me, take my children away from me, claim without any evidence that I was abusive towards her, and she'll be unconditionally believed. I'll be handcuffed and brought to jail. Is it possible to do what you're saying in the society we currently live in? And why have you not addressed any of those things? Again, I think it's probably because you want government to leave these policies in place. You want people to be broken so that you can keep selling them your $500 courses and your $7,000 counseling sessions.
Are you going to be able to get on Tinder and find a full integrated human being immediately at the snap of your fingers? Maybe not. It might take more work to get the sex you're trying to get, but it will be more stable and enriching and fulfilling. So number one, understand that different is out there. Number two, start tracking the places in your life where you are not a fully integrated man who is worthy of respect from others and worthy of real connection, submission, fulfillment in your relationships and in your life. Wherever you are afraid.
And you as a man, I challenge every man watching, are you really willing to take the risk that so long as I am worthy, she will respect me. So long as I am worthy, she will submit to me. Therefore, if she does not respect me, it unequivocally and 100% of the time proves that I have done something wrong. Are you willing to accept that? Again, I'd go back to, it's an extreme example, but would you ask any woman in the world to accept a circumstance where your husband can shoot you in the head at will and receive a $10,000 payment from the state, but you don't have anything to worry about, sweetheart? Just do everything right. So long as you don't do anything wrong, you never have to fear that happening. If she's not willing to accept that arrangement, why should you accept the arrangement we currently have?
And giving into that fear where you are submitting to your fear, that is what is holding you back. Get some help. I coach. I have a community. I can help you. There's male coaches.
Here it comes. Pay me to fix your problems.
Out there, there are so many people out there to help you. Make sure they have good moral character, but get out there and overcome your fears by having other people help you. That's the other piece of it as well. No man is an island. Men are meant to function together and to bring each other into the fullness of moral character and discipline and truth. Get connected with other men you admire and have them help you. Learn from them, grow with them. And then number 3, stop chasing women who are so broken that they are guaranteed to destroy you because you can't trust them just as much as they can't trust you.
Adam, have you ever stopped to think of what percentage of women do you think are this broken? By your own admission, because of psyops and government involvement, women like this are getting more common. So just find the woman who's not like this. Well, if the population of women who are like that is growing, what's your advice then?
Stop chasing those women. Start learning to filter for healthy women who are going to love you with all of their heart and be faithfully loyal. Even many wounded, broken, damaged women are still terribly loyal unto death. It is
And do you trust their loyalty enough that they are never going to break it when they're in a situation where they can, if they so choose, eject you from command at any time?
it's not like every woman with a slight, bang in her fender is going to be completely deaf to you. Find a woman who is capable of loyalty and at least is capable of doing the work to become more fulfilled, healthy herself, just as you are. If you find a woman who is on the path and you are on the path, heal together and have an open, honest discussion about what is happening and what you want from each other. That is the pathway to doing this. And if you need help, contact me.
And pay me
And you
large
mentioned
amounts
Tinder,
of
and
money.
a lot of people don't realize that these websites, these social medias, these dating apps are designed with addiction in mind. They're not designed to create lifelong partnerships, right? They're designed to keep you on using the app. So they don't want people falling in love and deleting Tinder, right? They want you going on a date and thinking, I could probably have 10 people better than this person, and it's just.
And the reason that works is because the red pill is true. Men and women have this particular nature, and Tinder simply exploits it. If you believe that's a problem, then you believe the red pill.
A gambler's mindset, right? Just keep on doubling down. So you would say get some real friends, some 3D friends outside in the sunshine, on the grass, other men who are, have the same interests and struggles as you do, and make some friends in 3D. Would you agree with that?
Friends that you respect and will hold you to a higher standard. Yes. Crucial.
Very good. Well, that is all our time for today. So can you tell us how we can get in touch with you for coaching? And
all right, so that's it. That's they're just going to do their outro now. So we've made it through their entire presentation. Again, let's go over this. The red pill is simply understanding male and female nature when it comes to reproduction, dating, marriage. Men are instinctively polygamous and, absent moral, legal, and societal restraints, tend to pursue whatever strategy allows them to have sex with the highest number of women. Women are naturally hypergamous and, absent moral, legal, or societal restraints, tend to pursue a two-pronged strategy. First, have sex with the most genetically superior man available to secure healthy, strong children. And thereafter, secure the man who is both, use your sexuality to secure the man who is most able to provide protection and provision so that you and your children can live comfortably thereafter. And if at any time another man comes along who is better able to, try your best to transfer your loyalties from your current man to another man. That is how male and female nature works. You don't have to like it. It doesn't mean every man and every woman behave that way in all sets of circumstances. It means those are the natural inclinations of men and women. Now, have either of those things been refuted, or have they in fact been reinforced by what Adam and Jamie had to say here? I leave it to you, the viewer, to decide. Did any of the so-called lies that Adam brought up have anything to do with that? Women are incapable of being loyal. That's not what we're saying. The only way to have a successful relationship is if you use competition anxiety to make sure she's afraid of you leaving her. That's not what we're saying either. Those are all extreme extrapolations that have nothing to do with the red pill. Is there a core base of truth about male and female nature? Yeah, but those are not that's not what the red pill is teaching. If anything, you're picking the most kooky PUA communities and trying to refute them. Did they ever once talk about no-fault divorce? Did they ever once talk about family law? Did they ever once talk about how authority has to match responsibility, that if the man's going to be in charge, his wife cannot have the ability to disobey at any time and eject him from command at any time. No, they didn't address these things at all. So I ask you, the viewer, has the red pill been refuted? And as a final point, looking at the comment section of the last stream and some of the things I've seen on Twitter, if you're going to try and criticize me and just say, I've been studying these issues for 12 years, or I've been studying this issue for so long, I understand this so well, you poor misguided red pill men, who hurt you? You know, why are you so bitter? Did some woman treat you poorly? I don't care why you think I personally came to accept the red pill. As I pointed out in a comment on the last stream, if you try to refute this by identifying why you think I personally came to accept the pill, that is the genetic fallacy. Identifying how a person comes to believe something has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not that thing is true. If you think the red pill is false, the 2 points I've specifically pointed out, explain why, explain the paradigm that you think better explains male and female behavior. And further, address no-fault divorce. Address the way our society is currently set up, and then answer the question, why should men get married under the current paradigm? How does it benefit them as individuals? If you cannot do that, then you have not refuted anything that was said on this stream. All right, thank you everybody for tuning in. When this is over, I will go ahead and put these 2 streams together in a video version so that it can be available for one full thing. And to Jamie Henshaw and Adam Lane Smith, you may or may not see this, and you probably don't care, but let me just say, if you would like to have a conversation about this, I am more than willing to give you what I believe is the correct perspective of what the red pill really is. Open invitation. You can contact me via Twitter or my email, which is available on my YouTube channel. As always, my 2 cents. Y'all can take it for what it's worth.